We, of course, are on it, and we will continue to bring you up to speed as regards this particular event. Well, my name is Dakwadegbe, and of course, I'm joined with...
Well, I'm Lincoln Obanjo, and I must say it's nice to be here, most especially to document the local government election in Rivers State. We understand that 6,866 polling units are under this particular exercise, 23 local governments. We also understand that about 16 political parties, between 16 and 17, according to what we understand, are actually participating in this local government election with the hope that we would have quality representatives man these positions, most especially as we know that this is a grassroots kind of government that connects the government, you know, at the top with the people.
However, there have been issues, you know, to the build-up of today, which of course is the local government elections in the state. Part of it is the legitimacy of the process. For some, there have been questions around the, what I call it, right of the sole administrator to conduct this election, to oversee this process. Many have questioned it, even taken it to court. As at last week, I think the ADC, one of the political parties, did challenge this in court, saying that should it be within the purview of the, that's the sole administrator in the state, being a non-elected official to oversee this. The court actually, a court did throw that out, saying that, look, the elections will still go ahead. So many issues, yeah.
Yeah, and you know that the emergency rule was actually put into place by the president on March 18 this year. And a lot of people are saying, why can't everyone wait for the expiration of the 6-month emergency rule, which will culminate in around September 16, have the governor reinstated, who was democratically elected to conduct a democratic exercise. So it's part of the contention that will also be chronicling this afternoon.
I mean, it's pretty interesting when you look at Rivers State and local government elections. Last year, too, I think sometime last year, another election was conducted where a party, then Fubara was still, it wasn't suspended, it was still governor then. We saw the old drama and the very, very, what I call it, a party that similarly, I don't want to, I'm trying not to use the word unknown. APP seemed to then sweep all the seats that was being contested. But that process was annulled, and we are here again. But let's also tell you that the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, says the emergency rule in Rivers State will be lifted by September 18th, 2025. Now, speaking after voting in the ongoing Rivers State local government election, he commended residents for their participation as Wike urged continued support for local governments, emphasizing that grassroots mobilization will drive development in the state.
Well, the emergency rule imposed in March has allowed for elections to be held and for local government structures to access federation funds. The planned lifting of the rule marks a step towards restoring full democratic governance in Rivers State. We also have an excerpt for your listening, so let's just take it right now.
That today, 30th of August, which is scheduled to hold the local government elections in Rivers State. And again, I want to thank RISEC for carrying out a very, very successful conduct of the government election. Let me make it clear that this is a local government election. And I expect, particularly the media, to have done their homework very well in doing where there are residential areas, in doing where there are commercial areas. When you go to commercial areas, you don't expect much by turnout of people. But when you go to high residential areas, you of course you do expect people to turn up. Particularly as I'm here now, this is my community. I can see the turnout of people in this particular unit. So also it is in other units. But if you go to where you have commercial area, more to speak, you don't expect much people. Go to the rural areas because it's local government area. More participation is taken in the rural area because of councillorship position. And so most people who are also not in this Rivers State, they feel that look, there's no need since we are not having a truth represented by having their own people contesting the election. So I'm very happy with the turnouts of people. I've got a lot of reports from the rural areas that people came out very well to participate in this election. So I'm very happy. There was no election and law. The Supreme Court said there was no election. They nullified the election. I said there was no election. There was no election. Today we are holding election, and that's why you see people have come out to also cast their votes. If you do something that's not done to law, of course it will be set aside, and it was set aside. And now that the process is very clear and goes according to the law, nobody's worried. What people are doing is just to come out and cast their vote for whoever they want them to represent them at the local government level. And that is why we have to thank Mr. President for taking the bold step to make sure that this election is conducted. First of all, if election is not conducted, you know that Supreme Court has said there's nothing like caretaker committees in local government, and if there are no elected people, it means that funds will not come from the federation account to local government councils. And that means that if the emergency rule is lifted and there's no government election, we'll still have the same problem. And now that local government election is taking place, it means that they've elected people and then they will get funds directly from the federation account. So everybody must try to support the conduct of this particular election in order to stabilize the grassroots level. By the time the state of emergency is lifted on the 18th of September, it means that the governor and the state assembly will come back. So without local government, it would not have been complete. So we are very glad that today we are conducting this election, and by the end of the day, elected people will emerge and they will be sworn in, and they will not have elected representatives at the grassroots.
Well, that is the Federal Capital Territory Minister Nyesom Wike having cast his vote in the local government election in Rivers State, saying that he actually gives kudos to the president for having had this come into play after the political turmoil that actually engulfed Rivers State for a couple of months, culminating to now. And he talked about the issue around voter turnout, saying that, you need to focus more on the residential areas, not the commercial areas, and that would actually make an excuse if we don't see a number of people come out to cast their ballots. But there have also been questions around if the people are really willing to come out to cast their votes under a system that is being superintended over by a sole administrator.
I mean, this has been at the core, or part of the core of the conversations around this election. We know, of course, New Central having its boots on the ground in Rivers State across many locations there actually did feel the pulse of the people. Interestingly, people are aware, that these elections are happening in the state, at least quite a number. But as regards participation, there seems to be mixed, I call it feelers in that direction. Some questioning the process, while others saying that, look, irrespective, we'll still come out to cast our vote. But we have Austin Azu on ground. Austin is actually, at that's Ward 4. Ward 4,
Unit 007.
007. He joins us live, his News Central's correspondent. Austin, what's the update?
All right. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Of course, like you rightly stated, we are Ward 4, 007, Unit 007, Emoha local government area of Rivers State. And you can see the ballot box half full. And we are here, and obviously we can see most of the voters on the ground. So obviously some of them might have come here to cast their votes, and they have returned back to their various places. You can see the presiding officers, particularly that of Solomon Arrain, is a RISEC ad hoc staff presiding officer, trying to put thoughts together over what he has done so far. All right, let me talk to him for a while. Okay, Solomon, please bring us to speed. Take us through the process so far. How has it been like? How come we have these numbers on the ballot now?
Okay, as you can see, it's very, very clear. Materials are on ground. I am the presiding officer of this unit, Unit 007. Some persons have also come to cast their votes. This is community. And then today, a lot of people are busy with one thing or the other. We're expecting that they will come. We just started, as you can see. So we're expecting that more persons will also come and exercise their franchise. But as I speak with you, you can see for yourself that nothing much is happening for now. Like I said before, we strongly believe that more persons will come to cast their votes.
Okay, there's timeline allocated for this exercise, and can you please help us go through the stipulated time when the accreditation is supposed to start, when voting is supposed to end?
Well, for all I know, accreditation is supposed to start by 10. But, because of some challenges, unforeseen circumstance, actually made them arrive here late. And then you can also see, for now, I'm not sure about time, but I know we started about 12:30. That was when the material arrived here. And then we started around 1, So I wouldn't know, but by right, we are supposed to end this exercise by 3 p.m. this evening. This afternoon. But as you can see, we are still waiting for people to come and cast their vote.
Okay, we have Prince Zuru is a PDP agent here at the unit level. Okay, sir, take us through what has been the challenges so far regarding this unit.
Welcome to the M1 local government. This is Ward 4, Unit 007. You can see, as my brother told you, we just received the material by about 12:30. And we're still waiting for people to come and cast their votes. The people that are around, people have come and cast their vote and left. So we're still waiting for people to come. So that as they come, we'll have no problem. There's no problem in the unity. We're just getting this normally. So we're waiting for people to cast. I have already cast my own votes. You can see mine, I have already cast. So we're waiting for people to come. Thank you.
All right, sir. I assumed you are from this community, and you might have familiar yourself with a lot of persons here. Was there any time that you actually communicated with the people about this election? Are the people aware that there will be local government elections today?
Yeah, they're fully aware. The party that concerned know that the election today. I hope by most of them have gone to Sunday, they will come back and start voting.
Okay. All right, let's leave it at that, because we hope and believe that in the next few hours, they will definitely conclude this particular unit and do the needful by announcing the results here before it will be sent to the local government area for onward collation down to the RESEC office in the headquarters. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Austin, before we let you go for now, let's talk about the security situation over there. How would you describe it?
All right, in terms of the security, everywhere seems to be quite calm. On our way down to this place, we saw a lot of security personnel on the ground, particularly regarding the highway. There were a lot of security presence. And however, at the polling unit, we probably saw some of the security personnel on the ground as well. You can see some of them, just normal distance maintenance from the polling unit. You can observe them. They are taking, proper cognizance of the environment. This local government election means like is a community event, and everyone seems to be going about their own lawful duties. So security, otherwise, everything is in perfect conditions. The places we have visited, we went to Ahoda West, Ahoda East, Onega, Na, and Moha, and we hope to proceed further to see what has been happening. And most of the places we visited, everywhere seems to be so calm, according to the police language. No cause for alarm. Everywhere is peaceful, and hopefully this peace will continue till the end of the poll and subsequently what come out after.
Austin, before we let you go, let's understand, if you can describe this particular area, Ward 004, if it's a residential area or a commercial area. We saw some shops at the background. I think some people are open for business, but then we don't know if they are that enthusiastic to be part of this process.
Well, yes. Opposite this polling units, you can see something that looks like a beer parlor, and we can't ascertain if they're actually enthusiastic about this process. But however, from the look of things, they're quite interested looking at what is happening over here. And like I said earlier on, it seems like a community, election, and everyone know who is going in for this election. So everywhere seems to be calm, and they are equally showing their own solidarity in their own way. But however, some of them are actually taking this event to be like business, because obviously you can see some of them have started displaying their food stuff, whatever they are selling, and those voters who are coming to vote, obviously they need water, they need to eat and all those ones. So, and a lot of persons are actually going their lawful duties. They will buy. There's a lot of buying and selling today. Obviously, knowing fully well that a lot of persons are on the ground, a lot of persons who couldn't go to farms will be buying. Those who couldn't go to the market will be buying from them. So it's a business opportunity for some individuals. And I tell you for free, some individuals who are into this business will be smiling home today because they're definitely going to make a lot of profits from what they are going to experience today.
New Central's Austin Azu, thank you so much for the update. We'll definitely get back to you as regards how developments unfold.
Okay, so, Dako, before we take on our guests and still cross over to the rest of our correspondents, there's always the issue with the late arrival of voting materials.
Yes.
I mean, you have a couple of months knowing fully well that the election was to hold on August 30, and every single time an election is to be held, there's always an issue with the late arrival of materials. I mean, one would have thought that you'd have done some logistics reconnaissance, have an understanding of where you're going, be able to calculate the number of hours you will spend, have your people mobilized, and you're moving in time. If registration is meant to start by 10 and materials are just arriving by 12, and it's meant to probably end by 3, and we don't know if it's still going to be extended.
So
I mean,
some would argue that maybe because this is local government elections too.
It has always been, even with states, even with the general election.
General elections. But we really hope that this issue is nipped in the bud. But let's bring in our guest. We have, of course, with us at this time to speak on this, Chapp-Jumbo. He is the immediate past chairman of the NBA, Yenagua. We also have Lanre Toluhi, a political analyst and strategist, and Wisdom Chapp-Jumbo, a public affairs analyst. Gentlemen, it's great to have you join us. Thank you for your time. All right, let me start with you, Sumina. Sumina, there have been talks around the legitimacy of this process, right? Whether it's within the purview of the sole administrator to oversee an election, being a non-elected officer. From standpoint of the law, you are the immediate past chairman, the NBA, Yenagua. What does it say?
Well, yes, thank you for having me, and I must commend your platform for the work that you do towards enlightenment. Now, having said that, I am aware that there is already a matter filed before Justice Stephen of the River State High Court as to the legality of the election, and it would be remiss on my part to comment on a matter that is already sub judice. So I hope you understand that.
Okay, but okay, fine, we understand that it's in court, but potentially this process has started. Are we looking at a sort of legal ripple effect at the end of the day? Potential blowback, legal blowback at the end of the day. Do you see that happening?
Now, without prejudice to the substance of the case that is pending before the court, as to why the election is being held, and I know at least it was reported that there was one of the a party approached the court seeking for injunction, and that was refused. Now, as to the competence, which is what I mean, I don't know how I would avoid that, but as the competence of the court having to entertain this matter is something that would have to be decided. But I think the law is really clear on that particular point. But I wouldn't want to say so much so that I'm not penalized for a matter that is sub judice. Be not decided on it yet. If the court has decided, we can make comments.
We understand. We're just trying to put this in perspective in the light of what should be in a democratic setting. So we understand, Sumina, if you would come up with that explanation. Let's also take Lanre's reaction. Some people before now wanted this election to be stalled. As a matter of fact, like we established, it was taken to court that it should not be allowed to carry on. But then eventually we are at this point. Are you also in support of the fact that whether or not the sole administrator is subservient to certain powers, he should be the one presiding over this local government election?
Thank you for having me. Well, I think, you see, it just brings you back to what we have in Nigeria. We have a way of playing with illegality, or we have a way of being I don't know, there's a word I'm trying to get, of try to obey the Lord at our convenience. Because you look at it, why must the sole administrator, why must it be the one to superintend over these elections? If he had been running the states, because that's what he was doing, he was running the state and dictating what's happening in the state for almost 6 months, and he has few weeks to go. But he felt he has to run a local government election, and he's thinking, oh, somebody came out and is telling us, oh, you cannot do that, the local government allocation will not be released and all that. I don't think that should be a problem, because all he just need to have done was, okay, the man that was elected as the governor of the state that was illegally removed or illegally suspended should have allowed him to come back. Or part of the thing, okay, you have 1 week, you have 2 weeks, you have whatever time to do the election and all that. Because now what they've just done is they are going through another round of selection where they will just select people. I'm using the word selection because it's not an election. You all know that's what's happening. Like you can see the voters turn out, you can see there's voter apathy and all that. Because that's what's going to happen. Because people are just feeling like their voices are not being heard. Their votes don't count. Some people somewhere will sit down in Abuja or wherever they want to sit down and make decisions about the life of more than 2-3 million people. Somebody somewhere will just think he or she can wake up and do what he or she wanted. And that shouldn't be, because you can't build something on nothing. First, the fact that there's a sole administrator in Rivers State is an illegal thing, it's an aberration. Whether we want to accept it or not, the truth is we all know it is illegal. Now, how can you use an illegal government or illegal apparatus to want to claim something to be legal? That is just totally wrong. We need to tell ourselves the truth. Now, whether the Rivers State government or the High Court is going to make a pronouncement or not, that happens. And if there's something and it gets to Appeal Court or gets to Supreme Court, that case they might want to take it to, and they're saying it is legal, then is Rivers State going to come back and conduct the election again? Times they're going to be running the election 3 times. Where are these resources? They are going to just be wasting the scarce resources of the peoples of Rivers State. So I think the sole administrator should have just been magnanimous by waiting and allowing the re-elected, someone that was elected to govern the people, at least to an extent was elected, to be the one to run it. But here, we decided to take our nation, Nigeria, everybody does what he or she likes as long as he or she has the confidence or the contact to the power that be.
All right, Barrister Jumbo, let's extend this conversation to, governance. In Rivers State, I mean, there's been talks also around, some of the, will I call it, the scope of governance of the sole administrator. Some have accused him of extending his, will I call it, administrative boundaries. What's your take?
Okay, but then please just permit me to address a premise upon which our discussion is based. First, I think that we ought to realize that the powers to conduct local government election does not reside on a governor of a state or on the sole administrator in this case. It is resident by the Constitution on the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission. I just thought that we should establish that particular premise. For that of Rivers State, I am a legal purist, which is I look at what the law is, or what the law has been said to be, and decided by the statute books, and as well, and maybe a little bit of realism, which is by what the courts have said. Now, irrespective of my personal views about this particular, about the particular election, the legality of which will be determined fully. The issues around whether elections ought to be conducted or not must be put against the background of the decision by the Supreme Court, which has stopped a release of local government funds to the local government in Rivers State until there is a validly elected governance structure. So what that means is if anybody is, for example, is saying they shouldn't conduct elections, it means you're going to start all over again. You must give the required notice prescribed by law. And that would mean for that period, and this is almost about 90 days for notice of election, for that period, local governments will be starved of funds in Rivers State. That is the dire consequence that would attend to not conducting elections. And so I mean, while I'm not, like I said, I'm not, that's had nothing to do with the legality of it, but that is something we should not shy away from. So if anybody is saying, let us wait, you have to give fresh notice. The kind of advantage which you have under this kind of constitutional aberration, under a state of emergency, is not attendance when there's a restoration of democratic governance in Rivers State. I also think that we should bear that in mind in looking at this whole situation. I have my personal views as one of being sympathetic, but the way the law is as it relates to Rivers State, because for Rivers State, there has been an express pronouncement. So we must, and that's by the Supreme Court, and that is what would be in effect if elections are not held. And the curtain of this period falls. It means we are starting all over again, and that I think would even bring about more troubles to the people of Rivers State.
Okay, so let's come to Lanre now. I'd like to find out, is there a difference between the local government election that was conducted by Siminalayi Fubara that was actually annulled by the Supreme Court before this new local government election was eventually put in place? Because we can look at it from the angle of a democratic governor did this and it was cancelled, and now a sole administrator is doing the same, when we just have barely about 2 weeks where there's a possibility that this same governor can be reinstated and would freshly conduct an election. We have about 6 months that this state has been run by the sole administrator, and the structures, so to speak, that have not been in place has not resulted in a case where the people at the grassroots have become moribund or have suffered or have lacked basic amenities. So if they can stand, withstand the pressure or the situation for, let's say, 5 months plus, it's just 2 weeks. Then after 2 weeks, during the expiration of the 6 months, then we can have a new election come into play by someone who was actually elected by the people to govern the state. What's your take?
So look, when we look at this, we have to tell ourselves the truth. We can play around with legality or no legality. We can talk about government or a pronouncement saying in 90 days and all that and all that. Where were all those things when the election conducted by the governor that was elected was nullified by Supreme Court? We all know that it's just a play of power, just power play that is going on in Nigeria. We all know what is happening. Now, if election was conducted and we felt, and some people felt that they were outplayed and they felt, okay, they had higher power to do what they want to do, and there was a pronouncement that nullified it. And just like you have said, they've been there for 5 months and 2 weeks. With these 5 months and 2 weeks, the people had they had been moribund, they had been morbid and all that, all the facilities had come morbid and all that. No problem, no issue. For 2 weeks, no problem. So what is the urgency? And if there was even urgency, if now the federal government is not bothered, or the executive is not bothered, or the legislative is not bothered, or some people that found themselves to be well-wishers and the lover of the public are now bothered that, oh, local government fund will be cut off. Why didn't they intervene at the initial stage? Why did they intervene since? And ensuring that the elected governor, a governor that was duly elected for the state, was not removed. That okay, even after there was a declaration of state of emergency of a 6 month. Yeah, there was a declaration of the state of emergency for the 6 months, but it wasn't cast on stone. They should have said, oh, okay, we've seen there was a reconciliation. The reconciliation had happened over 8 months ago. It was 2 months. Okay, why didn't they now say, oh, let's return back this man? There's already a reconciliation. There's a peace now. Let's return back this man over there, and whether the man is not playing ball or not playing ball, that is another case for another day. But and let them restore the man and let them to have conducted the election. But somebody somewhere, some people somewhere just felt they hold the destiny of the people, because all this thing we are seeing is not about the local government itself. It's not about the mass. It's not about the public. It's not about the masses. It's about 1 or 2 people, one few individuals that felt they want to control the resource of the state and they still want to control it. And this has to happen for them to stand their ground and to show that they run the state. And which is sickening. It's sickening when few people think the whole the commonwealth of the people belong to them and not to everybody, because all this thing that is happening, it is not about the people, it is not about the state, it is not about the local government, it's about some basic and very few individuals that just felt they owe themselves or they owe everything, and everything must belong to them, everything must be all about them, because that is what is happening. Because how do you tell me you've been running this state has been run for the past how many months, 5 months plus 2 weeks, and all of a sudden, oh, there is a call for all of a sudden they're all concerned about the people. We all know they're not concerned about anybody. They're only concerned about themselves, and they're only concerned about their own greed and self-centeredness.
So I'm going to also direct the same question to Barrister Jumbo. I mean, in comparison with what Sim Fubara, the local government elections, Sim Fubara did conduct while before his suspension, and what we're seeing now, the circumstances, what is different?
I think in conversations like this, while we would have our own opinion, we should pay fidelity to the facts, and it's important that we try to draw a distinction between what is now and what nullified the local government elections held last year. Recall that the APC had gone to court challenging the process towards the election on account of the fact that the requisite notice was not given, and that the voters' registration would have still been continued and had not been given to the voters' register would not have been given to RISEC, that is authorized to conduct the elections. It was on this premise that the court, before the holding of the election, nullified all the steps towards that election. So what was now the effect? The elections were held in spite of the judgment of that court. And that was why the election at Supreme Court was nullified on the premise of the holding of the fact that the judgment by a court of law nullifying it. In this present circumstance, there's no such, there's no parallel. There's no decision of court nullifying the election. I think that is as clear as daylight. If Justice Stephen subsequently finds that the elections or the holding of election was contrary to the law, in my Lord's opinion, then he would give the requisite order. But as at now, there has not been any judgment of a court nullifying the steps taken.
Okay, well, we understand. So I'm still going to stay with Somina because, of course, as the past immediate chairman of the NBA, you're a legal luminary. And I'd like to find out that based on the Constitution, does the sole administrator have the powers to appoint board members of the RCEC that is currently handling the exercise of the local government election?
So yet again, and I'm not here to bore us with legalese. There is what's called de facto and de jure. Now, what we have currently, because the legal status of the sole administrator, which I do not agree with, has not been pronounced upon. So it in effect, anything that it is doing has some sort of attendance regularity attached to it. So the fact that we know, which is de facto, there is somebody in charge of River State who steps into the place and exercises the power to recommend and to nominate, subject to the confirmation by the legislative body, the exercise of which powers have been taken up by the National Assembly. So he has done that. Whether I agree with his appointment, I had written an article which was published that I do not agree with it. But you know, de facto there's somebody acting in that stead. And because there cannot be a vacuum, the elected governor of River State, similarly, within these 6 months, is not purporting to carry out any function as a governor. Is not the one paying salaries, is not the one approving for payment of salaries and all that. So we can only speak on that if and then I would wish that the suits filed at the Supreme Court by the PDPs, by the governors of the PDP states had been attended to, so that we can speak authoritatively on this particular issue. But when that has not been done, what we cannot agree on is de facto there's somebody who presides over the state, that the powers of the governor have been invested in him, and then it was pursuant to that he made the recommendation, and then they were confirmed by the National Assembly.
Thank you so much, Barrister Jumbo. Let me come to you, Lanre. Lanre, let's shift the conversation away from sole administrator right now and look at the electorate, particularly within the context of local government elections. One thing that seems peculiar is low voter turnout or voter apathy. Now, looking at what we are seeing, or the one happening right now in River State, aside the level of awareness, which usually is a thing, do you also think that there are other factors that maybe might be responsible for maybe low voter turnout?
Yes, thank you. There are a lot of other factors, like we can see.
Peculiar to this one in Rivers, so.
Yes, there are a lot. That I'm saying there are a lot of other factors. Which one is very glaring? The people of Rivers probably are feeling, not probably, they are definitely feeling that their voices are not being heard, their opinions don't count, and the people or the power that be will do what the power that be will do without even considering what they feel or what they are not doing. So they're just seeing that this is an exercise in futility, even if they are gone and they have voted for who they liked or who they had wanted. They have this opinion that if the power that be do not like who the people wanted, the people, they will still appoint those they want to appoint. So there's still going to be a selection. So why waste your time? That is what is happening in Rivers. Nobody wants to waste their time to go queue up, to go do all this stress, and at the end of the day, the result might not even reflect. There's a 95 to 98% chance that the result will not reflect what they have done. So that's why they're not coming. We need to tell ourselves the truth. You see, and I'll just quickly dive into what the barrister had said earlier. It is because, you see, you cannot, in as much as there can be no vacuum in power, and there's no space for vacuum in power and all that. See, a man cannot just walk into another man's house and say, look, I am the father of this house. And because there's no vacuum, because the father had traveled and assumed to be the father of the house and start teaching others and do a lot of things because the father of the house had traveled for a short time, or the father of the house is unavailable at the time, and start dishing up. It is not done that way. We need to now start telling ourselves the truth. You can't build something or nothing until we know that. Because now, if the people, we can see what it is, a lot of funds are going to be wasted or spent. Don't use the word waste, but at the end of this, probably be wasted. will be spent on all these in the logistics and all the planning and all this. And at the end of the day, it's not going to reflect what the people actually wanted, because you see a turnout. I won't be surprised that at the end of the day, the turnout of this election might even be less than 30%, which is a total failure. And at the end of the day, how can you now see less than 30%, I mean, is dictating what will happen in this state or in this local government? But by the way, so people are not coming. The confidence is low. And now we all understand how it is. We've seen the electoral bodies, both state electoral body and the national electoral body, and especially in the Rivers electoral body. What is the sensitization program they've done? What is the mobilization they've done? What are the orientation they've done? They probably were not bothered about all that, because at the end of the day, they know what they want to do, and they are going ahead with what they want to do. And as long as those powers that be are happy, they will come to national TV and they will go everywhere and tell you this is the best thing. Why? Because it favors them. But if it does not favor them, no matter how well organized it is, they are going to condemn it. They are going to raise a lot of things, because it is pathetic that a state as important as Rivers State is conducting a local government election. It's just not just important. Enlightened state is an enlightened state. Is a state with a lot of great minds conducting a local government election. People that understand what governance is, and they're not coming out. They're not turning out to the road. And it's not a sign. And it is pathetic that those in authority are not seeing it as a cause of concern, a cause for something for them to now look what is happening. And that is what's happening in Rivers. It's happening in a lot of states in Nigeria. Even at general election, this happens because people are losing their trust. There's a little bit of breach of trust, and they are not trying to mend this trust. And it is pathetic and it is sickening.
All right, Lanre, thank you so much for that. Let me come back to you briefly, Barrister Jumbo. Barrister Jumbo, there is a call that from certain quarters that elections at this level should not even be conducted by the state. That INEC, should take the bull by the horn and add this to the list of elections that they conduct in the country. I mean, from a legal standpoint and from the workability of this, do you think this would in any way impact on the quality of elections at local government levels? Okay, I understand that we have lost Barrister Jumbo. Once we are able to connect with him, we will definitely bring him on. But we have our correspondent also in Rivers State, Biola Festus. Biola, it's great to have you. What's the update at your end?
We are currently at Kokobo for our local government area in Rivers State. While we came here, at the entrance to the community, we were told that elections had been concluded and that there was no problem, that all the materials had been moved to the
Okay, we seem to be having a challenge at Biola Festus's end, but definitely we'll try to optimize the connection with her to get more details as regards how election is panning out where she is covering. In the meantime, I want to say a very big thank you to our former guest, that is Chapp-Jumbo, for sharing his thoughts with us during the course of this conversation. And even as we ease him out, we have someone who would also be talking to us, that is Wisdom Chapp-Jumbo, who is a public affairs analyst. Wisdom, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Pleasure to be on.
It's nice to have you around. So let's first take what you feel about the conduct of this local government election in Rivers State. We've seen, so to speak, a low turnout of voters in some areas, and we're hoping that there'll be the possibility that more people will be able to step out and cast their votes. But then, do you feel impressed about how it is unfolding as of now?
Thank you so much. I'm talking to you from Bode local government in Rivers State, which is my local government, where elections are currently, ongoing in many areas. Over here, we see a large turnout of people in many of the wards and polling units. and the elections are going on very peaceful. In fact, we are commending RISEC for a very fantastic process in our local government. And we see the same in many other local governments. The elections are going very peacefully. Although we look at other pocket areas where probably there are low turnouts, but largely we see good turnout in the elections. In my local government, for example, most of the riverine communities, we usually don't have good turnout in elections, especially for local government. But this time we are seeing quite a huge change as people have trooped into the riverine communities to cast their votes in our local government. By the end of the process, we'll see what other areas, how turnout have been and the outcome of the election. But generally, it's going on well. It's going on peacefully. People have come out to cast their vote. We don't see any challenge at the moment.
I'm still staying with you, Wisdom, and this is Dapo speaking. It's great to have you. Wisdom, you said at your side, your local government, that's Bonny Island side.
Yes, Bonny local government.
You said compared to previous years, where the turnout is usually low at riverine areas, but this time around, the turnout is immense for this particular election. What is different? Why are they coming out now?
Okay, I mean, what is different, if I would say, is the candidates probably that they want to vote for, which we know is the most popular one in the local government. I think people believe in him a lot. So a lot of people are out to make sure that they cast their vote to show that they are giving him their mandate. And speaking of the president of Honorable Abiye Blessing Peppo, who is the chairmanship candidate of APC in Bonny local government. So we believe that his candidature, which is widely accepted by the people, has encouraged more people to indeed come out to cast their vote. Indeed is what we are seeing, and maybe that's why we are seeing the numbers the way we are seeing them. So at the end of the election, we're able to look at some of those numbers and see, how they reflect compared to other years.
Okay, so let me just quickly ask Lanre in respect to these turnouts that Wisdom has mentioned. Now, do you think that people, most especially Nigerians, let's say, are the type that are forgiving and are willing to participate in an electoral process, irrespective of the antecedents?
Yes, you can't take that away from Nigerians. We are a very understanding set of human beings. We are forgiving, we are awesome, we let go, that is our culture, that is how we do, and that is why Nigerians want to participate in an election if you give them the confidence that things will happen the way it will happen. We saw in the last general election, because of a particular movement, we saw how a lot of young people that we knew normally don't participate in politics, they were more involved because they thought they had a way of hope and all that. They moved towards that and they did all that. We saw how people moved their voting, voting polling unit to a different place because that's where they relocated to, which was unprecedented. So Nigerians, naturally, we are forgiven. They will be ready to participate in an election if you can give them that confidence or if they are feeling it, And it's not just about talking, it's about them feeling it. Stuff like this is not what you talk, because we've seen people talk and not deliver. But if you are showing them that really and they are seeing the moves or they can perceive it, they will do that, they will participate. But hey, at this level of our Fourth Republic, which started since 1999. That is about 24 years ago. Isn't it? That's about 24 years ago. What? Is 24? No, yeah. How many years? 1999 years.
Over 2 decades now.
26 years ago. 26 years ago, and we are here 26 years ago. 26-year-old. Even in Nigeria, some are getting married. So it shows the level of maturity, and we are still here, still having these voter appetite and having people not coming to vote, people not still having confidence in our electoral body or electoral processes. We can do better than that because we have what it takes to do better. And I think, and that's why some of us are always emotional when it comes to this. It gets us, it arouses us and tell ourselves, we can do better. We have what it takes. We have the capability, we have the capacity We have everything it takes to be great, and we wonder why we are languishing where we are.
All right. Thank you so much, Lanre. Wisdom, I'm coming to you right now. Let's one conversation that we've sort of consistently maintained, in the course of this is some concerns raised as regards the legal hurdle around the conduct of this poll. The sole administrator being in charge, not an elected officer, and this is happening. I put it to you, Wisdom. Even though you said, yes, there seems to be large turnout, supposedly, at Bonny side where you are, let's look at the legality and the talks around it, in terms of this process being conducted by sole administrator. What's your take?
Well, this whole issue has been going on for quite a while, but we need to remember that the sole administrator is not the one conducting the election. The Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission is the one by law mandated to conduct the elections, and they are doing so according to the law. Elections are not conducted by governors or administrators we have in our case. Elections are conducted by the electoral body, and the body as we have it has been duly constituted by the law, and they are operating and functioning. So I'm not sure where the gap or where the issue of legality lies here. The administrator is not the one on the field conducting the election. The electoral body that was mandated to do so is doing so.
But then, Lanre, sorry to butt in, Lanre, but then it's the sole administrator that appointed this board of members of RCA conducting this election. Is that also within?
No, that's wrong. That's wrong.
According to the reports, that's what it says.
The administrator did not appoint them. They were duly appointed by the president, who forwarded a letter to the National Assembly, which they activated their own right according to the Constitution to review and also what they call it now, pass the law that sort of set up the RISEC itself. So it is not the administrator that appointed them. The president forwarded a letter to the National Assembly.
So basically, Wisdom. So what you're saying is that the sole administrator has no role in all of this process.
I'm not sure where his role is in all of this process. If you can tell me.
I'm asking you.
I mean, I don't see any role here. The electoral body was duly constituted by the law, and they are doing their function by the law. Where does the administrator come in here? If you could tell me.
So those that have taken this, those that have taken this up in court are simply wasting their time.
Well, we allow the courts to look at the issues and be able to come to a final conclusion to the legality of it. But we already know that we don't see how those cases will go in court. So, but like I said, if you can tell me what the role of the administrator of Rivers State is in all of this process, maybe I can answer clearly. RISEC has been the one in charge. RISEC has been the one speaking to stakeholders. RISEC has been the one doing its duty according to law. So I'm not sure where the administrator is doing anything here.
Well, do you want to believe that the role administrator is still the one presiding over this electoral process in the state? So even if we say, oh, it's not the sole administrator, we're saying it's the president, is it constitutionally right that not the governor of a state would be the one to appoint people who would superintend a state government's local election?
We're forgetting so soon that Rivers State is under a state of emergency as we have it today. And I'll let you know for free that if this election does not happen tomorrow or today, as we are seeing it, we are going to leave a huge vacuum at the local government level in Rivers State. I will say again, we're in a state of emergency, and the state of emergency is clearly stated in the law, and it is not out of law to have it. And the reasons why those happened, we've talked about this over and over again in different conversations, so now we are here. So I'm not sure people that are raising this issue what the issue is. If we don't have this election for the local government as we have it today, and the state of emergency is lifted by the president or the National Assembly, we are going to leave a vacuum at the grassroots. It means civil servants will not be paid. It means that all the operations at the local government cannot happen, and it's going to take another 6 months or even 360 days to have another election at the local government level. So what happens to the people when all of these processes at local governments cannot happen? We create more crisis as we see it. So what we're having today is what needs to be done for the state to move forward. Remember, the February 28th judgment by the Supreme Court was clear that there was no governance, and it nullified the purported election of October 5th. So we need to move forward. Dayo, if you allow me to say, we need to move forward on some of these issues.
You know, some of these,
so,
of course,
again,
wisdom. We definitely want to move forward, right? But we also are trying to establish order.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that is...
Order.
Order, yes, please. It's also important that, you know, for the sake of precedence, so that we don't, you know, further compound and confuse, you know, the political landscape, you know, for the sake of precedence. That's why it's important we have these conversations, we establish order, we understand due process, and then we proceed.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
I agree with you on that.
Exactly. So let me also bring in Lanre to actually speak just for a moment. Lanre, do you have anything to react to?
Thank you. It's funny why how my brother, and I'm enjoying what wisdom is saying, but I can understand where wisdom is going. But wisdom, it just looks like, okay, wisdom seems to like what is happening because of some things. Sorry, that's what I think. I'm not saying that. So sorry, and it's my opinion. Sorry. But I think, you see, we cannot. It is wrong. See, there is no law. It is not legally right. It is not constitutional in a democratic setting to declare a state of emergency in Rivers State. Whether we want to like it is there. We can decide to twist it. But the truth is, the state of emergency is not right. We saw it even the vice president said it, that when Borno was going through and Jonathan wanted to, the National Assembly called his attention to the fact that he couldn't do that. Even then, that was when we had insurgency, mad insurgency in Borno State. We all knew what was happening in Borno State in 2013, 2014, 2015, and there was no state emergency. But we could declare state of emergency in Rivers. So we all know there's no legality, there's no constitution holding on to it. And because of that, illegality and unconstitutionality, whether the RISEC members were elected or selected by the president, it is wrong. Like I kept saying, you cannot build a house without a foundation. You can't erect a good building on a very faulty foundation. You can't build anything, you can't do something on nothing. So with all that, everything that has happened today from this election, if we really want to be truthful to ourselves, and if Nigeria is a country that wants to be taken seriously by the international body, is a country that wants to truly show that we are democratic in nature, we know that all these things that just happened today is a charade, or everything that has been happening in Rivers State in the last 5 months, 2 weeks, or almost six months ago, is just been a show of shame. All these shenanigans, we need to know that this thing is just charade, and we don't need them, because everything is just illegality and unconstitutional actions, whether we like it or not, but that is the truth. Because look, you cannot, if we want the president to be selecting state electoral council members, then you should just say INEC go conduct local government elections, or we set up a national body apart from INEC that will be conducting local government elections. And we are talking there will be a vacuum, there will be a vacuum. Is there not a vacuum?
All right.
President, a vacuum. So when we're not saying there's going to be a vacuum, there's already a vacuum. And if all of a sudden now we are all concerned about whether there should be a vacuum, we are already enjoying the vacuum.
All right. Well, we will continue to put this in perspective and find out what is right, because just as Dapo said, it's a precedent being set, and we hope not to build a foundation that will be faulty for Nigeria's future democratic dispensation. Wisdom, before we go on a break, I just need to probably bring this to the fore. As we understand, the president, of course, did selects or nominates members, board members, as I said earlier, for Rivers State's electoral umpire or commission, so to speak. But according to reports, if you would probably, read many of the tabloids that has been in circulation for a couple of months now, you will discover that it was actually the sole administrator that appointed the chairman of RCEC, that is Michael Ode, that happens to be an indigene of his own state, Cross River State. So you see, these are the information that are in public places that people are questioning as to the veracity of this election being held. Maybe there are some sort of vested interests in some quarters that might skew the eventual outcome of this election. And that is why we're bringing it to the fore to get expert opinion and have an understanding of where we're headed as a country. But then we are going to go on a very short break right now. And when we return, we'll continue to look at all the issues as regards the local government election in Rivers State. Do stay with us. It's Rivers Decides on News Central Television, a special program as we continue to bring you details and all the excerpts and, of course, the drama happening in Rivers State as regards the local government election. We have two guests with us who have been sharing their opinion as regards how it is happening and, of course, the legality of this particular election. As we understand, Wisdom John Bull is still with us, and Lanre Toluhi are also Wisdom John Bull is also with us, and of course, Lanre Toluhi are also sharing their thoughts with us. We also have our correspondents in different areas and polling units in Rivers State who are bringing us real-time information as regards the conduct of this election, and hopefully very soon we'll be able to take Biola Festus maybe during the course of the discussion to share latest updates happening in the area she is covering. Dapo.
All right. A lot has been said this beautiful day as regards this election. Where, of course, what I call it, thumbs up have been given. There are also concerns. But let's get back to the conversation right now. Wisdom, Chapp-Jumbo, once again, great to have you. Let me ask you, let's broaden this conversation to look at administration generally in Rivers State under the sole administrator. There have been issues raised as regards his administration stepping, its scope. So I would like you to speak on that. These concerns that have been raised as regards administration, or governance under the sole administrator.
You could be specific. In what areas are you referring to?
Appointments of certain individuals, for instance. Many are questioning the veracity as regards his capacity to do so.
Okay. For what we know, for every appointment the administrator of Rivers State has done, I think he has referred those appointments to the president, and the president has also written himself directly to the National Assembly, and in activating their powers of the Constitution, the ad hoc committee on emergency in Rivers State has always, reviewed some of those appointments and given approvals to them. So I don't think the administrator has acted solely on his own in a lot of areas. We saw even the budget was duly, reviewed by the National Assembly and the Committee on Emergency in Rivers State, just to make sure that they are checkmating the activities of the administrator of Rivers State. So I'm not sure that if there are areas where he has acted solely on his own, without, of course, the guidance of the ad hoc committee of the National Assembly, both the reps and the Senate, be reviewing whatever needs to be done. We can see how the budget of Rivers State 2025 went through proper scrutiny by both the Senate and the House of Reps, where line items by line items were pulled out to question and squeeze the administrator on why they have them on the budget. So it's just a way to also make sure that there's proper checkmating of what needs to be done in the state. So I'm not sure if there are any specific areas where he has acted on his own. We have not really seen that part. What we have seen is that he subjected himself to the National Assembly to be sure that he is guided properly on what needs to be done, including appointments that has been done so far.
All right. We understand that our correspondent Biola Festus is, of course, at the polling unit of the suspended governor. That's Sim Fubara. Biola, it's great to have you. Thank you for joining. All right, Biola, if you can hear me, how is it moving over there? And we also understand that there seems to be a situation that brewed a little bit of fracas. Would you also want to carry us through what happened?
Afternoon, Lakon. We are still here at the ward of the suspended governor right here in Opobo local government area of Rivers State. I did tell you earlier that upon our entrance to these communities, some group of boys approached us at the entrance and they told us that voting had been concluded and that result sheets had been taken to the collation center. But we wanted to come into the community to find out for ourselves what was actually happening on the ground. And when we got inside, the first polling unit we met was where the polling agents and the agents of the APP were having a confrontation while the agent was telling the polling officers that they had manipulated results, that they had used, there had been some printings on the ballot for a particular party in order to subvert their own rights. So that was what we first met when we got into this community. And then coming back, so this place, this is the word of the suspended governor. And we have on the ground the polling officer for this unit. Let's talk to her. She did speak to us earlier. Let's hold our attention again to tell us what is actually happening. Madam Kudora, please come. Yeah, so you did tell me earlier that this is the governor's ward. How is it going right here?
We seem to be having a bit of audio issues there connecting with Biola, but let's listen to, she made mention of something that seemed to be, a fracas situation that occurred earlier. Let's take a listen to what she was able to get.
Don't do that. Don't also carry pack and figure something. I approve it. I approve it. Yes. Now, if they can't now, you will get before.
All right, there, of course, was put in there by Biola Festus. Biola, we have you back. Great. Let's hear you.
So I was trying to tell you that right here is the polling unit of the ward of the suspended governor here in Opobo. These are the election agents. They told me earlier that the voting process had ended, that they are waiting to move the materials, result sheets to the collation center. And earlier we met an APP candidate who said the election should be cancelled and him declared the winner. We dropped that clip earlier on. Reason being that he accused election officers of subverting the will of the people. He accused them of stamping the ballot paper in favor of a particular political party. So he told us earlier that the elections rights in this polling unit was a sham and that it had been manipulated later.
Okay, Biola, stay with us for a while. We'll come back to you. Let's quickly also take these video excerpts from the APP chairmanship, that is for Opobo local government area candidates, that is Kelvin Soki, saying that there is no result sheet being available in that particular polling units. Let's take a listen.
Participated in the election, but the problem we have now, we don't have the result sheets. They are not given. The turnout is very, very, very low. The turnout is poor. The turnout is poor, and the turnout is very, very low. So we don't understand. But the major problem we have is they did not give us the result sheets.
Okay, so that is the APP chairmanship of at Opobo local government area that is Kelvin Soki, saying that low turnout, no result sheets. Quickly come back to Biola Festus. So with this latest revelation and what she said, that the electoral officers in Opobo said that election has been concluded, how sure are we that there is, that votes were cast and there is a result, according to them, that will be moved to the collation center for admittance?
So I sought to speak with some of these officers and they declined speaking. The one that spoke to us did tell us that the election process has been smooth, that it has been all free, fair, and peaceful. But the candidate just vented and just told us his opinion that the election was otherwise from what we are saying. He showed us a piece of paper with text stamp on it as what was provided for the result sheet in the election. So he said that wasn't acceptable. So we will move to the collation center any moment from now to find out what results actually remain later on.
All right, Biola, before you go, just a quick one. I mean, from your personal observation and assessment, would you say people, I mean, how many people, you know, from what you saw, at least following the process, in terms of coming out, people being present, would you say in a certain way justifies, I mean, the level of confidence they proceed in the process? What did you see in terms of people coming out?
Well, when I got into Opobo local government area, from the entrance to the local government area, I saw a crowd of persons. I put them, I thought it was a polling unit. I thought they were casting votes. But when I spoke to them, they said they were not casting votes, that elections had been concluded. Then I went further into the LGA, where at the entrance, at the waterfront entrance there, I saw a group of boys. They told us that elections had been concluded and that all materials, results from the polling units have been moved to collation centers. But we came further, moving into the polling units. We are right here at one of them, and the election officials are still here, perhaps with the election materials. They are still here in their beds, they are still here with their bags. These are the bags we know are used for result carriage to the collation center.
All right, Biola, just a quick one, Biola. Just a quick one. What time did you get to Opobo that, you know, when you asked these people, they said the elections have been concluded? What time? Around what time frame was this?
So we got here at about 1:30 p.m.
1:30?
At about 1:30 p.m. we were on the ground here already.
And they told you by 1:30 that the elections had been concluded?
Any idea when the election started? Because some people will probably say it's too early to conduct such an election when 3 p.m. should have been the deadline.
So we cannot confirm right now when materials got to Opobo and when the election started. Because when we came, we moved straight to the polling unit. But we had to drive through the Ogoni community down here. So we cannot confirm exactly when the election started. And we hope to find out that even as we progress in our process and coverage of the process.
Biola, thank you so much for your resilience and, of course, for taking this time out to continue to bring us these details. We'll quickly go back to our guests, and I want to bring Lanre into this to take your thoughts as regards what our reporter said, looking at how the election was concluded in Opobo.
You see, that's what I'm saying. The pure illegality and the effrontery. What is the law saying? According to the law they are even standing on, election should close by 3, isn't it? And now by 1:30 or by 1:30, because she said she got there at 1:30, they told that they've actually moved on. Although yes, some people were still there. So even if people were not coming, what it's meant to be is they are still meant to leave everything open until when it is 3. but they felt they could close it up because, like I said, it's just a selection. They all knew what they were doing. They know nothing's going to happen because that is the reality. And we saw a party candidate telling you that there's no resource sheet and there's low turnout, a very low turnout. Yes, that might be another thing that just got the electoral officers to say, oh, people are not coming in. But even when people are coming or not coming in, they need not have closed shop, permit me to use the word, until it's 3 o'clock. But because some people felt they could do what they want to do and subvert other people's voices or vote or everything, or shut other people's down, or they feel they own the state, they feel they own everything that the power that be, just let them look, pack up and come in. And because that is what is happening, it is wrong because this is total disenfranchisement of a lot of majority of people, of majority of votes that have been disenfranchised because some people just want to have power at all costs because this is not right. And so when we are even talking of vacuum, what we are having now is even worse than vacuum because if there's a vacuum, you now look at it, but there's no leader, there's no local government chairman, there's no councillors, okay, that is where things are. But now they're going to be having people that are meant to be local government chairpersons or councillors, and those are not even working for them because those who just come in and be at service to the people. This is a total disservice to Nigeria.
All right, let me leave you for a moment, Lanre, and go to Wisdom. Wisdom, just also to confirm, from the best of your knowledge, has elections been concluded at Bonny where you stay?
No, but for many areas, the elections are still ongoing, and the time to conclude elections is 3, so elections are still largely ongoing in many areas, yes.
So what would be a reaction to what has happened in the suspended governor's local government?
I mean, I can't say for sure. We're only just getting these reports. These are just reports until we hear, from RISEC themselves. Also, we can be able to balance the reporting from what is happening in the suspended governors, local government, and what may be. So I think we need to hear from RISEC, as RISEC is meant to give a proper report of what happens,
We seem to have lost a connection there with Wisdom Chapp-Jumbo, but he's still with us. Meanwhile, let's tell you that Samuel Basiobo, a person with disability, has expressed concern over his exclusion from the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission ad hoc staff list in Awada, West local government area of the state. Basiobo's grievance highlights issues of inclusion and fair representation for persons with disabilities in local electoral processes. Now, the incident comes as the commission holds LG elections today across the state with assurances of a transparent and credible electoral process. Take a listen.
I'm the one of the trainee from the RISEC, but I called it to them. They said they sent my name to the RISEC from Awada West headquarters. Now I've come here to find my name. I did not see my name, and moreover, the place there is a reachable. This thing, as the place there. I cannot step down, cannot come down and go and watch my name. I send somebody to go and look my name, and the person search everywhere. They don't see my name. So I'm not happy. I'm not happy because the way people are taking us, I don't understand. Because people should treat us well because we'll be special people. So the special people this time around want to just try to put our name now. Then my name's not is there. So all I would aware is only me, was a disability person that to attend, to follow them, to work with them. But now nothing. I cannot find out my name. I cannot work with them. They just.
I mean, this is another pivotal issue. Persons with disabilities, being actively involved and integrated in processes like this. They're human beings. They have a right to vote, just like every one of us. And this individual raising that alarm to speak and say, look, even when they made effort, when they was told his name, wasn't on the list. Do you think that as a country we are doing enough when it comes to integrating this set of individuals?
I mean, one would think that getting to this point of a political dispensation, Nigeria would have come of age when it comes to inclusiveness as regards either people with disabilities or people who are who have the ability, so to speak, to ensure that no one is actually disenfranchised. I mean, we're talking about democracy, and everyone, irrespective of their situation, has the right to participate in an electoral process. Exactly. And with months or maybe years of preparation, all these things should have been put into consideration and ensure that everyone is accommodated into the process so that we don't have situations like this. And it also draws or brings to the question, what about the ad hoc staffs that, were integrated into the system for training, and at the end of the day, when they got to the commission's headquarters, couldn't find their names on the list. And up until this morning, they couldn't even actually tell which polling unit I designated to, marshal. That disarray. And I will just quickly bring that to Lanre and ask, is it possible to have a hitch-free election in Nigeria? Or would you say that situations like this are just deliberate? Lanre Toluhi.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
It is very possible to have an hitch-free election. But I think situations like this are just being designed intentionally. This is an intentional design just to make things look difficult for people. We have a way of wasting money. We have a waste culture in Nigeria because we spend money to train people, ad hoc training, and at the end of the day, you train ad hoc staff, and when they go, they can't find their names. It's surprising. You should have actually known where you want to post each and every one to before you even call them for training. It should be proper planning. We lack proper planning, and this thing is because we constantly don't put the right people in the right position. We have the habit of putting the square pen in the round hole. We don't do what we need to do, and it's a lot of wastage and all that, because how do you explain when people go to check their names? Election officer, ad hoc staff are checking their name, and as of this morning, it is when they even know the polling units, they are marshalling and all that. What you talk about the logistics, these are the things you should have done. All these things should have been out weeks ago and all that, because that's one of the things they were telling us, that was why they cancelled the last local government election. So you expect them to perfect it. Okay, what were the problems they had the last local government election? Everybody were not carried along. All the stakeholders were not carried along. Now, these stakeholders, what have you done? You should have learned. We learn our lesson. What are the lessons learned? We always don't learn the lesson learned, because as far as they're concerned, it's business as usual. Some people just want this to run so that they can make some money for themselves and get out, and not because they love the people, not because they want to have proper planning. Because in a place where you have proper planning, where you sit down and strategically look at things, you will have known, that's because that will actually prompt to let you know the number of people you need in your ad hoc. How many staff, regular staff do you need? How many ad hoc staff do you need? And where do you need this ad hoc staff? Where do you need this? These are the things you expect a forward-thinking set of people should do. But hey, we don't do that. We like on election day, you see election day, election material will not even get to the polling. Some polling units might not even get there until 1 p.m., 12 noon, 1 p.m., and election is meant to be wrapping up by 3 o'clock and all that. Just tell yourself, why do we do all these? All right. And you'll be surprised that these things, they're actually no rocket science. It's one of the easiest things to do. Just sit down.
All right, Lanre.
Election and you perfect it, but we don't do that.
All right, Lanre, just staying on with you on this. There's calls from some quarters that local government elections should be taken over by INEC. Do you think that will in any way impact on its quality or credibility?
Is INEC itself checking with the people? Is INEC itself showing credibility? Because you can't give what you don't have. If INEC had conducted some general elections, can we say INEC has done well? If INEC has done well, so we can say, let's move this. It's all about whether moving it to INEC or moving it to the state electoral commissions. It's about, you can't give what you don't have, but it's about people being genuine. It's about people doing what they need to do. Because I know the fear of those that are failing, that the governors, probably They don't want the governors to have unnecessary due influence on the members of the state electoral commissions or whatever you call them. But don't they still have such over INEC? Is INEC really independent? It's about honesty. It's about people wanting to be honest. It's about people to know that service to humanity and not service to oneself or greed of personal agenda. It's about ensuring that there's good governance. It's about ensuring that we are credible, we have dignity, we have integrity. Because even these state councils, these state electoral councils can actually do good elections. Let us tell ourselves the truth. They can do good elections if they mean it. But the problem is, our problem is the people issue. It's not actually systemic. Our problem is people. We can bring the best of system. We can have the best of technology. But the people the drivers, if they're not doing what they need to do, this technology and these systems won't function the way they should function. We need to first have a people person, a people orientation, and change our mindset and our orientation towards delivering excellence at every given time, and every time we are given assignment, we should do them holistically and honestly. So it's not about INEC or state electoral councils or electoral commission. It's about the people first. We need to train ourselves to give, because even if we give these elections, local government councils elections, to INEC, they will still mob it up, they will still muffle it up, they will do. We saw what they used to do in the general election. So they're not really fantastic in any which way in most cases. So it's not about that. But if I can revamp themselves, hey, and if these state electoral councils can revamp themselves, hey.
All right, so we take that discussion to Wisdom now. I mean, Wisdom has consistently said that in Bonny, where he is, election has been seamless. Reflective of course, reflecting in other areas where he has covered. Sadly, we do not have Wisdom Chapp-Jumbo with us on this discussion anymore, and that is okay. But then, Lanre, we just come to you, even as we continue to look at this. Overall, you talked about revamping. If that is done without or with the supports or looking at the judicial system, is it still possible to have credible elections in Nigeria?
Yes, it is. It is very credible. It is credible to have credible elections in Nigeria. Like I said, look, Nigerians, we are dogged, we are people. That is nothing that is impossible for us to do, especially when we set our mind to do it. It has been shown over and over again. We've seen ourselves, picked up ourselves from places. So we can't do that if we want to do that. But we need to change our orientation towards a lot of things. We need to start having to believe in what we have to offer our nation, what we need to offer the people, and stop thinking of what we gain from a corrupt society. Because I think one of the problems is we are so loving the corrupt society, and average Nigerians are so loving the corrupt society. So we don't want things to work, so that we can tap on the loopholes and stay on them and do a lot of crazy and funny things. So credible election is one of the easiest things to do.
Lanre, sorry to butt in. I'm even trying to tie this to what you said as regards revamping electoral commissions in the state with what we've seen play out in the judicial sector, where a lot of people have raised questions as regards the credibility of the judgments tied to electoral processes and results being delivered at the court. So if we look at the electoral set and do a revamp or an overhaul of the system, what about the judiciary, where we have discrepancies with results and these cases are taken to them to adjudicate over and give some credible verdicts as regards these elections? Are you also confident that they can also play their parts when we talk about the credibility of an electoral process?
You know, the credibility, okay, when talk about adjudication and the judiciary, for me, I'm kind of been skeptical about that, because we've seen the Nigerian judiciary had given a lot of contradictory judgments on same issues, similar conditions, similar scenarios, same scenarios, and the judgments will be different. And you wonder what's happening. Are these judges or justices making laws or giving judgment based on their mood and all that? So we don't have, like, when when my brother Wisdom was here and was talking, you were saying that you wanted to have, we are looking at precedents and all that. But in Nigerian judiciary, do we actually have precedents? We've seen Supreme Court, even which is the highest in the nation, give judgment that contradicts judgment it had given in similar cases in matter of weeks, in matter of months, and all that. And you ask yourself that. So for me, I think the judiciary too needs that revamping. They need to, but it boils down to the fact too that the independence of these three arms of government, we have the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary, because the dependency level of the judiciary and the legislative depending on the executive is actually the problem. They are meant to be three independent bodies doing their things, or arms of government doing their things. But we've not seen that happen in Nigeria. And because we've not seen that happen in Nigeria, it's affecting a lot of things. So because as a Nigerian politician, one of the things, look, I'm a political strategist, and I've done this for about 20 years now, and I've seen it play out. One of the things you get as a Nigerian politician or aspiring politician, what everybody will tell you is, how many people do you know in the judiciary? What is your contact in the judiciary? What is your contact in INEC? Which shouldn't be so. Those are the things we are seeing, because the judiciary is seeing, you see judiciary do a lot of things that are funny. Because once you know people, you're able to influence something in the judiciary, you see a lot. Look, I've been in a political meeting or a political strategic meeting, and I was with somebody, and the person met me and said, look, this is my contact to the judiciary. This person is this to this dot. And I'm looking at it like, how did we get here? How is it that? Because you see that people just want to, you see some people wanting to go to court, they're eager to go to court because they know what they have. They actually have some people that specialize now presently in Nigerian political setting, people that specialize in ensuring things get to the judiciary, and so that, because they don't want to get there, they know, just like the Americans call it, they have people that will lobby it out. And it shouldn't be so. It is pathetic, but that is the reality.
All right, Lanre, I mean, it's been, of course, a great one having you speak and elaborate extensively on this matter. But before we let you go, now, just a quick one. There have been calls over time for credible elections in the country. I would say that in a very long while, even though it's 2 years to the general elections, there seems to be a lot of political permutation and, alliance is already happening. The political season is already here. And there's a lot, of takeaways from the last election, which happened that Nigerians, quite a number of Nigerians still have reservations. So looking at what we are seeing, this local government elections, the one we are seeing in Rivers, the governorship elections we have seen in some states, right? All of this subtly are built up to 2027 general elections. Are we making progress from all these elections that we have seen? This little, state level, local government elections we've seen, are we making progress towards attaining that country that when elections hold, people don't even need to go to tribunal, they don't need to doubt the results, they just take it. Are we getting there?
Truth be told, bluntly, straightforward, no, we are not making progress. Rather, we are progressing. If you say you are making a move, you are making moves step backward, not forward. We are making a lot of thousands of steps backward, because that's what we're doing. We are retrogressing. Our electoral processes is retrogressive, and that is just the word. Because if you go into it, we'll only be here for hours and we'll be talking about it can make point. We've seen the election even from the state, from the one we are seeing today. We've seen it, and the local and the state and the gubernatorial elections they've done. We've seen the chariot, we've seen the things they've done. They are not things we should write home about. They are things that are heartbreaking. They are things, elections where you see and you will weep. And look, and if you are patriotic, you will weep. And the painful thing for me, it is not that these things are happening. You see people you think are men and women of character, people you think are enlightened or that are exposed, people that have seen, people that are well-traveled and well-read, and you see them justify this because it favors them, and they talk about this and it justify because it favors them. Those you think were comrades, those you think were human rights activists, but now are supporting it because it favors them. And we bleed as a Nigerian that is that how bad and how corrupt we are in terms of understanding basic tenets of democracy, basic tenets of doing what is right and wrong. Look, we are not moving forward. We are not even, if we are stagnant, it's even better because if we are stagnant, then we can improve on it. No, we are even retrogressing. We are going back. We are running backward where everybody is moving forward.
Well, some people say that they'll be actually making progress in terms of the provision of security detail for electoral cycles or processes like this. I mean, if you were to do a comparison, Lanre, with what we used to have in the past, where some security officers have been accused of being partisan in politics, wouldn't you say that there's been some bit of appreciation? I mean, we've not recorded incidences in this, a couple of state and by-elections that we've had a couple of months back. What do you think?
Yes, some would think that, but for me as a strategy, I don't think that. Because we just said that it's voter, but people have lost interest. You see, why people were doing all that? Because if people were, yes, we are happy there are no security scandals here and there are no security issues, understand, awesome. But this is because people are not even interested. So they don't even want to waste their time. So they're not even interested. So what you do, they don't care. They're not bothered. So they are not. There's no part, because at times some of these things are driven out of passion and the zeal to do something. So they're not even passionate about it. Look, like what you showed in Rivers, you saw where they're doing the election, you saw at the polling unit, you saw some people were selling rice and selling food there and they're eating and they're doing that. They're not bothered. They're not bothered because as far as they're concerned, just come showcase, because as far as it's just coming to do a showcase, one showcase what you want to showcase to the world, and just go out and let us go, and they're not bothered. So it is not about security improving. Let's tell ourselves the truth. Ask the security personnel themselves. They will tell you they don't have people, because the people that are meant to destroy them, people that are meant to actually watch or try to protect or do. Our information gathering has improved. The answer is no, but nothing is just happening because people have lost interest. They're not bothered. They just say, okay, just do what you want to do and leave.
All right, Lanre, thank you so much. But just one last one before we wrap it up. I mean, if you were to make, will I call it, realistic recommendations moving forward, towards our electoral process, and I'm talking from state, to local, even to the presidency, what will be your recommendations? You did make mention that you're a strategist.
Yeah, my recommendation would be straight up that we need to make INEC or the electoral body fully independent. Yes, it is for INEC is the prerogative of the president to elect and do that and elect the chairman and all that. We need to make them independent. We can't be having card-carrying members of political parties as national commissioners and directors and all that in an electoral body. We know anybody that has been partisan cannot all of a sudden say they are not partisan again. It doesn't happen like that. So once we've made that, we've had people, the best hands, and people that are political to be in charge, to be the political umpires. It helps them to think and give them the necessary funding. And once that is done, we need to do more in time of digitalizing our political or electionary processes. Once we digitalize that, it will help us to do more, because once you digitalize, it reduces the human interference and all that, and it gives a trade, it gives you something that's workable and all that. And above all, we need to bring in capable hands and stop saying, we need to stop this funny federal character thing we always do, because you are from this part and we need this number of people from this part or this to be here and all that. We need to now start looking we need to run a meritocracy system where, look, this person is capable, can do it. It doesn't matter where they are from. It doesn't matter their religion. It doesn't matter their gender. It doesn't matter their age. They are capable. Track record, they have been elected to do this, and they'll come out because they are the best professional in that field. Let them come running, because we need that so that people can have, and once that is happening, more people can see that the confidence level of the electorate will improve, and they won't come out, and when they see the system play out, everybody wants to come to what they need to do, and that way we can now improve our electionary processes.
All right, thank you so much. Lanre Toluhi. Lanre is a political analyst and a strategist. Many thanks for joining. It's been a pleasure having you. Would also like to say,
Thank you, Lekon.
Great. Would also like to say a big thank you to Somina Jumbo, the immediate past chairman of the NBA, Yanagwa. He did join us at some point, and also Wisdom Chapp-Jumbo, a public affairs analyst. Gentlemen, I would like to definitely appreciate you. Well, Lekon, a lot has been said, and I mean, for me, my takeaway is I think we still have some things we need to tighten up, and we need to be careful when it comes to setting political precedents. You know, let's. For me, it's let's leave politics and let's talk about leadership here. Let's talk about value, right? You're a leader. Your tenure would come and go, and if you set a precedent that you feel you will not be accountable for, it will come back to bite you. That's why many of these politicians that have turned motivational speakers now, who are speaking like they have the solution to the country. They were once in power. They contributed to the problem. Now it's coming back to bite them. So, you know, karma is real. You know, and at the end of the day, you know, everyone would have a share of it. So I'm just using this medium to appeal to politicians to please remember that humanity is first before, you know, politics. I think I'll just stop there.
Well, some people will say that karma is relative. Some people will say that accountability is relative. Some people also say credibility is equally relative. What if accountability to the person who is instituting that process as it favors him, once it's accountable to him and it benefits from it to him, it's accountability to him, it's karma to him, it's benefiting, whether or not it covers the entire spectrum, as long as him and probably, you know, the people his fold enjoy and whatever establishment, whatever it is that is bringing on board to him, that is good. But I think, you know, for me, what I would close with is, you see, we need a system that is infallible.
I agree with you.
A system
that is stronger than individuals.
Basically. Yeah. So whether or not, you see, it takes a bold person to come up with a system and say, even if the system is going to make me wrong or fault me, you know, it is going to definitely be something that will be beneficial to the public. Then let's have that. Why? Because posterity will eventually judge who is actually, you know, the one thinking about what would be beneficial to the people than for a cluster. That's what we should be looking out for.
Absolutely true. Well, we would like to say a big thank you to everyone for being a part of this. This doesn't end it, right? Up next is the news, and after which we will continue our special broadcast with the Rivers State local government elections. My name is Dakpo Adegboye.
And I'm Lekon Onobanjo. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Hello and welcome. You're watching News Central right now, and we have been bringing you updates from Rivers State local government elections. And of course, we're going to continue from where our colleagues have stopped ever since we started the coverage at the early hours of today. My name is Chiwete Onyema.
Of course, my name is Sarah Ayeko, and of course, it's good to be here.
Same here.
And this is a very crucial election, and it has popped up a lot of questions concerning the irregularities, allegations of irregularities, of course, omission of some ad hoc staff from the list. And this is happening across the 23 local government areas of Rivers State. And we've been talking about this morning. We've had a lot of guests, analysts, talk about the peculiarities of politicking in Rivers State. And it's really interesting that we're seeing this play out under a state of emergency, of course. Yeah. And they've questioned a lot of things. And so we're going to get the conversation really quick. And I think we have our correspondents. Our correspondents have been on the field for quite some time now. We have Igbalani, we have Biola, and we have Austin on the field. And they're going to be giving us some updates. We understand that elections have ended now. Most of the election materials have now been taken to the rack. Niyi, if you're still with us, can you tell us what's happening now? Where are you? Are you still at Obiakpo local government, or have you moved to another location?
Yes, I'm still at Obiakpo local government. I'm currently at the RAC Center Primary School, and it's one amongst the very many RAC Center in this local government. And as you can see behind me, the research officers and the ad hoc staffs are returning their materials here, and of course, trying to make sure everything is accounted for. No rancor whatsoever, as according to what I can see from here. But however, I have one of the INEC and unit agent here to speak with, and I'd like to get his own assessment of the election so far. How was the process? What did you observe? Let's start with your name and, of course, what capacity you're speaking.
I'm Clifford Honda from Rumeme Romocholo, Ward 11. I'm a party agent, APC party agent.
Okay. I mostly saw APC, PDP party agents across many of those polling units. Did you see any other party agents in most of the units you went through?
Yes, there are other parties like Labour Party agents in some other centers. So far, other parties who participated, their party agents were also here.
Let's talk about the electorate. And most of the places I monitored around Obiakpo local government, the turnout was very, very low. Very, very low. Was that the same at your own polling unit where you... Let's start with... I forgot to ask you, where exactly were you stationed? What polling unit and what local?
I was stationed at Unit 17 under Ward 11, which Unit 17 is in Rumpakani.
Okay, so let's talk about the electorate now. What was the turnout like there?
Actually, in the unit I was in, that Unit 17, the turnout was good. It was pretty good. It was massive because people came out as I didn't expect. But to the glory of God, the number was good.
For you?
Yes, for not only me, the party, and the electorates themselves. Because if there are no people to exercise their civic right, then there's no need for election.
What about RISIEC? What was the deliverables like this time around? Assessing them, the time they came in, what time did they come in? Were there any issues with the materials and the technological devices they were using? Were there any issues at all?
From what I saw, what I witnessed, there was no issue. I think the administrator of the state did a good job for this team he picked. This research team, they did a very good job. Everything was in order. The voting materials or election materials, it was perfect. It was good. I was really, really impressed with what I saw today.
I'm quite surprised you're giving so many, and this is not me expecting a negative comment, but I would say most party agents I saw, just like you, was mostly PDP, where I saw, and maybe APC, which looks as if these are the two dominant parties we saw across board. Do you think this is associated with anything before now? Because, you know, before the elections, there were calls for boycotts of the election by some party members, different party, not yours anyways, boycott to the election, and so many other conversations, concerns, political tension, legal tensions, and some people said they're going to withdraw. From your own perspective, because I've gone around and I've seen, I'm surprised you're saying that we have so much people turn out. I'm surprised you're saying we have so many party agents, because I didn't see as many as them.
Honestly, my brother, in what is called election, there is no need for sentiment or to play politics of bitterness. For those people who are calling for boycott, I think they're just playing politics of bitterness. You can see that, as I mentioned earlier, that APC is here, PDP is here, and Labour Party is here. And don't forget, you should know that for APC to participate in this election, it will show you that it was a free and fair election that was keenly contested. Though that Rivers State is a PDP state. So if APC was here and Labour is here, you will know that there was no tension really that was created by some individuals who are miscreants. Sorry, I call them miscreants, because when you begin to behave like a miscreant, you should be termed as a miscreant.
Well, you know, it's easy to associate the convergence of APC and PDP to a particular political power, right? Because we'll say, oh, some people have thought that it is controlled by a particular principle. Do you believe that is why we have that synergy between APC and PDP during this election?
Please, it's not true. APC is APC. PDP is PDP. There is no principle controlling APC and PDP. As far as Rivers State is concerned, the leader of APC in Rivers State, or the party chairman of APC, is Chief Tony Okocha, which is the principal in APC. While that of PDP have a principal who is the minister.
But you know, APC has two factions. Sorry to cut you. There's another faction of APC.
There's no faction as far as I'm concerned as a member of All Progressive Congress in Rivers State, Ward 11 Rumeme, because The only APC recognized in Rivers State and national is the APC led by Chiefs Tony Okocha. That is the only APC that is recognized by law, because other APC or other people parading themselves as APC who are termed as miscreants are not recognized by the national party, state, and the court of law.
All right, before I let you go, with Checkmate electorate, you said there was a good turnout for you. With Checkmate's RISIEC, what about security operatives?
Okay, the turnout was very good. There were all police officers and civil defense officers here to show that security was on ground and standby. So there was no tension or any quarreling or violence. There's no form of violence here, honestly.
I feel if I'm to let you rate this election, you probably give it 100 over 100. And a lot of people will have concerns about that.
Honestly, if you ask me, from what I've seen so far, I'll rate it 100 over 100. But if you say from your own view, you might rate it a 90 plus, because if you can see very well, you can see very clear, there's a good turnout here. There are people here you can see, and everybody participated. As you came, I asked you earlier, did you see any violence? He said no. Was the electorate here? Yes. Was I research personnel here? He said yes. So that means it's 100 over 100.
Well, no. I didn't say they were there. I said from my own observation, there was low turnout. Just to put that on record, there was low turnout. And you said, oh, from your own end, the electorate actually showed up. Well, thank you very much for talking with us. Thank you. We tried getting the world chairman here. You saw my cameraman tried doing that, but it was pretty difficult. We'll try again to see if we can have him, but he's currently busy. He's trying to sort the ad hoc staffs. Of course, remember that letter of appointment they got earlier. Now is the time it's useful, because now they have to sign for a lot of things, which is attributed to their payment. Of course, and I think that's what they are quite trying to sort now. So it's quite difficult to have any of them to speak to. However, there were a few agitations from some of the ad hoc staffs saying some people are trying to impose other names over their name, who didn't work. So the rancor is there. They didn't want to speak with us. They're trying to sort it currently, but that's the situation on ground. If we just to put on record, for the local government elections, most of the sensitive materials come to the RAC centers and not to the RISIEC State Independent Electoral Commission office, because we've been there and it's as empty as it can be.
Thank you so much, Nee, for giving us that update. But I'd have loved to still ask you about the voter turnout. You said you noticed, from your own point of view, where you visited, that there was a low turnout. Can you give us a little bit details on that, as to perhaps the demography now of the people who voted? Do you see more of a young people, middle-aged, or older people?
Yes, so let me be more specific. I can count at least around, if I'm not, I don't want to exaggerate the figures, about 20 polling units that we went to across the Obiakpo local government, and I can tell you for a fact that aside the polling unit of the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, which is Nyesom Wike, there were practically little to very no persons there. Although we didn't stay for so long, don't get me wrong, we stayed there a few minutes, maybe we were there for 30 minutes to monitor and observe. We stayed at some places for about 35, 40 minutes before moving on. Maybe they came afterwards, but from our own observation, we didn't see. However, it is important to put on record that at the Nyesom Wike's polling unit, there were a handful of people there before he came to vote and even after he came to vote. And we even had the aged come there to vote. We had the younger ones come there to vote. I didn't see any person with disability. So for me, I would say that is one of the very, very few places where I saw a handful. And when I'm talking about a handful, speaking of with time frame, I was there for, I would say, roughly about between 30 to 70 or 60 people at that particular time. Now, there might be more afterwards. That's what I observed during that class. So aside that place, most of the places we saw actually had pretty low turnout throughout the exercise here in Obiakpo local government, Rivers State.
Nee, let's just put you on a pause while we try to bring in our analyst. I understand David West Bekin Warie is joining us on Zoom. He's the chairman, Civil Liberties Organization. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. And you've just heard from our correspondent, Nee, talk about voter apathy, talking about some of the polling units he'd visited. And before we get into the voter apathy or the illegality or legality of this election in the first place, I just want to get your thoughts first as to what you think, really, about what is playing out today. We know that right now, collation has started at the various ranks.
For me, I think what is playing out today is nothing more than an illegality, so to say, or an orchestrated script that is just being played out to say that when the democratically elected governor, His Excellency Lanre, assumes office, he can no longer go back to carry out or conduct this government election. Left no option rather than to accept these persons that, let me not use the word forced upon him, but accept these people. As a matter of fact, from the report of your correspondent, you can also see, and it shows clearly the acceptability of this election by the good people of Rivers State. Now, it is expected that in the local government or the ward of the FCT minister, Mr. Ezekwuonyi, the former governor of Rivers State, it's expected that in his own word, certainly people will come out to do this drama they are doing, because that is his place. And more so, I will not also rule out financial inducement and some other juicy talks to the people to go out, just go out and do these formalities. But on a more serious note, I should say this. I'm saying it because I'm also a Rivers State indigenous. I'm also from Rivers State, particularly from outside local government area, Buguma to be precise. So whatever thing that is happening in Rivers State will be of concern to me. So, like I said, for me...
So you did not vote. So you're saying you did not vote today?
Yes.
You did not go out to vote today. Is that what you're saying?
Because I would not partake in this kind of illegality that is taking place. It is not within the powers, the right of the sole administrator to come to Rivers State to conduct local government election. On which aspect of the law is he doing this? And more so again, the manner of appointment, the constitution of the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission is also of question to me. As far as I'm concerned, the man at the helm of affairs was appointed by his own kinsman, who is not even a Rivers man. I can say it categorically for free, that the sole administrator had retired, had not resided in Rivers State. He does not know anybody in Rivers State. So where did the list all these names of persons emanated from? It's quite clear that everything you see that is taking place today in Rivers State is just the drama or the directives of the FCT minister. And I'm going to say this for the people of Rivers State, that if we don't, at this point in time, begin to liberate ourselves, so that we don't run into this shambolic shape of where one man will say, it is my structure. As a matter of fact, the people we will vote for as our leaders by way of assembly or governor or anything, or by appointment. People will just willingly, on their own, say, we are following our leader, and that is the end.
Mr. David, you've acknowledged that you did not take part in this election. You've called it an illegal election, basically. Yes, and when we had a conversation with our correspondent, part of the news coming to us right now is that there was a low turnout. Do you think perhaps a lot of people belong to your own school of thoughts, and perhaps this is why we have a low turnout, because a lot of the citizens of Rivers State do not believe in this particular election?
Absolutely, yes. The people of Rivers State are not happy. You see, persons from people in highly placed positions, or people in authority are trying to coerce Rivers people to accept illegality. So the people of Rivers State is not happy. If you can see clearly, if this election had been conducted by the democratically elected governor, His Excellency Lanre, or the democratically elected democracy of Rivers State, you will see the good people of Rivers State turn out in mass to vote or choose for themselves their local government chairmen and councillors. Because if you look at the provisions of the 1999 Constitution, as amended, local government is a tier of government of its own. And the people of Rivers State certainly would need the local government as a tier of government. So why wouldn't they come out joyfully, willingly, out of their own personal volition, like myself too, to cast my vote for somebody who is going to be my chairman, for somebody who is going to be the councillor representing my ward, I will do that willingly because it is my right. But based on the fact that what is happening today is illegality, it shows clearly from the response of the good people of Rivers State. You have seen the apathy. They are not willing to come out no matter the just to fulfill all righteousness campaign they said they were doing by themselves and for their own selves, and the people they have paid money, hired class, and what have you. Today, you have seen it clearly that the good people of Rivers State are not in support of this illegality that is taking place in Rivers State. Illegality to the extent that chairman of Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission, take note, Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission, not Nigeria INEC, so to say. And I've not seen in any of the states in Nigeria, for the first time I see somebody who is not even from the state becoming the author of such a sensitive position in Rivers State. It's an aberration, it's an affront to the Constitution. So for that reason, it is clear that the people of Rivers State are not ready and will not come out to participate in this shambolic sham that is taking place today. Only for those who are in support, will be very few minorities who are in support of this illegality that will come out to show their faces before the cameras to do this abracadabra drama they are doing.
All right, Mr. David, we're going to beg you to pause now because we're about to play a clip for something that happened earlier when the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, casted his vote while talking to the press men. He made quite an interesting statement as regards the lifting of the state of emergency in Rivers State. Let's play that clip for you right now.
Thank God Almighty that today, 30th of August, which is scheduled to hold the local government elections in Rivers State. And again, I want to thank RISEC for carrying out a very successful conduct of the government election. Let me make it clear that this is a local government election. And I expect, particularly the media, to have done their homework very well in doing where there are residential areas, in knowing where there are commercial areas. When you go to commercial areas, you don't expect much a large turnout of people. But when you go to high residential areas, you of course do expect people to turn up. Particularly as I'm here now, this is my community. I can see the turnout of people in this particular unit. So it is in other units. But if you go to where you have commercial area, more to speak, you don't expect much people. Go to the rural areas because it's local government area. More participation is taken in the rural area because of councillorship position. And so most people who are also not in this Rivers State, they feel that look, there's no need since we are not having a truth represented by having their own people contesting the election. So I'm very happy with the turnouts of people. I've got a lot of reports from the rural areas that people came out very well to participate in this election. So I'm very happy. There was no election and more. Supreme Court said there was no election. They nullified the election. I said there was no election. There was no election. Today we are holding election, and that's why you see people have come out to also cast their votes. If you do something that is not done to law, of course it will be set aside, and it will set aside. And now that the process is very clear and goes according to the law, nobody's worried. What people are doing is just to come out and cast their vote for whoever they want them to represent them at the local government level. And that is why we have to thank Mr. President for taking the bold step to make sure that this election is conducted. First of all, if election is not conducted, you know that Supreme Court has said there's nothing like caretaker committees in local government, and if there are no elected people, it means that funds will not come from the federation account to local government councils. And that means that if the emergency rule is lifted and there's no local government election, we'll still have the same problem. And now that local government election is taking place, it means that they've elected people and then they will get funds directly from the federation account. So everybody must rally out to support the conduct of this particular election in order to stabilize the grassroots level. By the time the state of emergency is lifted on the 18th of September, it means that the governor and the state assembly will come back. So without local government, it would not have been complete. So we are very glad that today we are conducting this election, and by the end of the day, elected people will emerge and they will be sworn in and then we know that we have elected representatives at the grassroots level.
Very interesting breaking news from the federal, from the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, talking about when the state of emergency rule will be lifted. That's September 18. If you've not heard it anywhere, you just heard it from the Minister of the FCT. I understand we still have our guest, Mr. David, still on standby. I would like to get your thoughts on what you just heard. The Minister had alluded to the fact that this is the second attempt, at Rivers State holding local government election in less than a year. I just want you to help us understand what this means for the stability of grassroots governance in Rivers State.
Yeah, while I was listening to His Excellency, the former governor, the now FCT minister, with greatest respect to him in his capacity and in his position, he seems to be very, very sarcastic to me in his analysis or his statement. In fact, he went further, or he was going around, citing the judgment of the Supreme Court. And when people begin to interpret the judgment of the Supreme Court,
So, David, do we still have you there? Can you hear us?
The minister, yes, I'm with you. If I should ask the minister a direct question on his response towards the judgment of the Supreme Court and what have you. The Supreme Court of Nigeria, in its judgment, states that the budget of Rivers State should be presented at the National Assembly, or that Mr. President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu should be the one to prepare such a sensitive, very, very sensitive, highly sensitive issue that has to do with the budget of Rivers State people. I mean, it is Rivers State people that will prepare budget for themselves. The budget of Rivers State is supposed to be prepared or debated upon at the Hallowed Chamber of the Rivers State House of Assembly. But here we are, even when the Supreme Court judgment did not give power to Mr. President to do budget for us, for the National Assembly to pass our budget, there was no debate, no public hearing whatsoever, but we have gotten budget and it's put in a Supreme Court law. However, in his own opinion, he himself too also alluded to the fact that indeed there was serious apathy. People did not come out. For his own word, we know that he's going to have those people that are standing beside him. Certainly, for the sake of stomach infrastructure and psychopathy, you still have some very few persons who wanting to go around to support this form of illegality. But as far as I'm concerned, and as in my own position, as I do know, this election they conducted today remains an illegality. Now, for the record purpose, or for very strong observation, so to say, in all these preparations, participation here and there from the campaigns they said they were carrying out, I asked this simple question. Is there or was there any place the elected governor of Rivers State, His Excellency Siminalayi Fubara, was cited? Have you heard him make any comment with respect to this election? In fact, the governor, in my humble opinion, at this point in time, Rivers people should know that with due respect to His Excellency Siminalayi Fubara, our governor, the governor of Rivers State, has just been reduced to nothing but an ordinary vegetable. He has been incapacitated that when once he comes into office, he has nothing, virtually nothing else to do again. But it is a clear sign and in a clear direction to show to us that the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, with due respect to His Excellency President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because of his 2027 ambition, he has already destroyed, he has already truncated peaceful governance of the 2027 election. I tell you, all these people they are planting there, they are putting there as structures, are people who will work for as President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu 2027. And the FCT minister, in one of the interviews he granted,
joining us,
journalists,
Mr. David, thank you so much for having a conversation with us. But then again, we'll see if we can probably still come back to you and have more conversations. But right now, we'll be having a conversation with the public affairs analyst who joins us from Lagos, Professor Simon Nah. Thank you so much, Professor, for joining us. You heard the Minister of the FCT say that come September 18, the emergency rule will be lifted from Rivers State. Should we be bothered that this information that's supposed to be solely coming from the president is being shared by a minister?
Why will you bother? First of all, my name is Simeon, please, not Simon. Having said that, why will one bother? You see, the Rivers State government, since a similar ephemera was removed, is being run by the minister and the president. So both of them are hand in gloves with what is going on in Rivers State. You know, like the other man said, you discover that it was the president that prepared the budget for Rivers State. I am not a lawyer, but I can tell you for free that I know that what happens is that the House of Reps normally take over a state assembly if there is problem in the state assembly of any particular state. Why did the government not allow the House of Reps to take over Rivers State legislation and at least present that budget? That is, by the way, because that's not the area of focus this evening. For the election, as far as I'm concerned, it remains an illegality because the man that is there now is called an administrator. In a democracy, there is no position as administrator. So everything that has been done, if we have courts in this country, the courts should have stood up to the fact that this is an illegality because we don't have an elected governor in place. One would have expected that they would have allowed these elections until the elected governor comes in to the office. But because of 2027, they want to take all the structures. But let me surprise them. These people they are putting there as their structures, the time is still far. 24 hours is a long time in politics. We are still talking about 2027. Are they sure that these people are going to follow them in 2027? Again, when you talk of structures, it's not just maybe putting a councillor and a chairman, and you say you have structures. The structures are the people of Rivers State. If they want to vote out anybody, except that our courts will still give the thing to anybody they want to give to. But if we do proper election, they will still discover that they don't have those structures they are talking about. Can I cite an example? Okoa was a former governor and a vice presidential candidate of PDP in Delta State in the last election, but he was roundly beaten by Labour. So what are we talking about? So let's see how it pans out. But it's unfortunate what is happening in Rivers State today. Very, very unfortunate. And the courts are, you know, aiding and abetting illegality. It's unfortunate.
Professor Simeon, so just to follow the line of thought, and I want to say, Mr. David, thank you so much for staying through with us. But back to you, Professor. If you take a look at the grassroots democracy, just like you were trying to allude to, and I'm just really concerned, and I wanted to also tell me what your concerns are about the stability of grassroots democracy, knowing that the structure that is in place coming, a lot of pundits like yourself are saying this is structures in place towards the 2027 election. That's the presidential and governorship election in 2027. But what does it really mean? Do you think that there would not be, the grassroots democracy or politics wouldn't be as stable as we would want it to be, knowing that today some of the loyalists of the minister would probably eventually be elected, quote unquote, as chairman and councillors?
Well, if I may comment, I don't think we have democracy in Nigeria. What we have is what Fela referred to as demonstration of grace. That's what we have. If you might take it from my own angle, I will call it an election by the elite for the elites. There's nothing like grassroots politics in this country, because what happens is that they will go and manipulate results and ask you to go to court, because they know that there's nothing the court will do. The court will do their bidding. We have seen it from 1999 to date. It's not just this government anyway, although things are getting out of hand. But from 1999 to date, you can always see that trajectory, that what we have is not democracy. We don't have democracy yet, because democracy tells us that it is the people that will elect people that will represent them. That is why it is called election by the people, for the people. And at the end of the day, when you have a situation where government selects people and INEC confirms them and the court rubber stamps them, is that democracy? My answer is a no. It's a no-brainer that we don't have a democracy yet in Nigeria.
All right, we'll need to take a pause right now to our gentlemen, but we're definitely going to come back to have a conversation with you. Right now, we have our correspondent, Biola Festus, on standby. Biola, if you can hear me clearly, can you kindly give us the updates as to what's happening around you?
Local government area elections ended at the polling unit. So this is the RAC center. We came here to monitor the process at the RAC center. So we are still collating results. I have here the presiding officer.
Biola Festus, are you still there?
It was so very fantastic. People came out to vote for their candidates, and everything was very direct, live, and clear.
All right, thank you. So he is a presiding officer, and he has just told us that everything went smoothly and as planned. I also have here one of the observers who monitored the election. Is standing right here. Let's just take a little bit of walk to him. He did speak to me earlier, and I would also like him to speak on camera. Could you please come this way? Thank you. So you have been observing the election. First of all, let's know how many LGAs do you monitor this process?
Yeah, I've been to like 5 local governments where we have order of our youth spread over the states to ensure that we get first-hand information per time of what is going on. And so far, I must tell you, the fear that many people expressed before this election has been annulled by a peaceful process. People turned out en masse to exercise their civic rights. And I want to commend the police. I also want to commend RISIEC for their spirit of sportsmanship. So far, we did not hear of any person being victimized, manhandled, or whatever that we have recorded in previous elections, like you know, in Nigeria. We have seen that most LGAs are running up the election process. In Kana is done, in Eleme is done, and in other parts of the local government, they are they are running up. And this is time local government where they have successfully voted. And in all, we want to thank the youth for keeping to their words of assurances of a peaceful disposition before, during, and after the election process.
Okay, let me break you there a little bit. You did mention that you've been to many LGAs. Let me ask you this. Were you at Okoko, those government areas?
All right, we apologize. We lost the contact with Biola Festus. Hopefully, if we can reconnect with her, we will definitely bring you in on updates as regards to where she is right now in Rivers State. We still have Professor Simeon Na and, of course, Mr. David. I'm going to ask you, Mr. David, there's something unique about this particular election, which has to do with the fact that we didn't really hear anything having to do with any violent conduct. And this usually isn't the case, especially in Rivers State. Would you say that perhaps things are changing now when it comes to elections in Nigeria, especially in Rivers State? Mr. David, are you still there? Okay, Mr. David, I asked you, I'm saying that there's something unique about this particular election and the fact that we haven't recorded any violent conduct right now. Do you think...
Yes, I can hear you, I can get your question.
All right.
And in response to your question, I want to quickly also say that will a man begin to fight his own self? That's the issue. Will a man take machete and cut his own body? It's not possible. Now, we don't, or you should not envisage or anticipate violence, because this is an arrangement between group of friends, group of persons of the same character, the same thinking, and like mind. So in that circumstance, nobody will come there to create violence. The people of Rivers State are not part of this election. It is an election or an arrangement made by persons for themselves. So when you say no violence means, that is to say there is a turn or a turnaround, a change in our electoral system, I'm not subscribing to the fact that Rivers people are violent. We are not violent. Elections have been conducted peacefully before now, so to say. But in this present circumstance, with respect to your question of today, the reason why you did not see that happening or people agreeing as a normal thing is because this is an arrangement of people of like minds, a kangaroo arrangement. Now, it is also pitiable for us when we begin to use very credible and responsible organizations of government Nigeria, so to speak. One of the persons your correspondent just showed to us that she was talking to was putting on the cap of National Youth Council of Nigeria. And it baffles me when such an organization like this would be, finding itself in this kind of a thing. It tells the credibility of all this organization. I don't believe in this kind of organization any longer. But for the fact, there is no fight because a man will not take machete to cut himself. They are the same people. It's a family arrangement. It's an in-house arrangement. They are giving money to people. Now, at the end of the day, you hear results will come out. Let me ask this question. When INEC at the national level wants to conduct election, INEC will come out to give you a timetable of their programs long time ago before the elections. INEC will train ad hoc staffs. Campaigns will not just be a thing of 2 days or 3 days, as the case may be. But here we are, everything was done in an hurried manner. When did the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission conduct exercise for ad hoc staff? Where did they get the staffs they use for this election? You see, gentlemen, this whole thing is just a kangaroo arrangement to satisfy the ego of Mr. President for 2027 election. Rivers people should also know that at some point in time, the FCT minister had affrontly looked at our face boldly and, tell the people of Rivers State that I bought funds for all of them. I bought funds for all of them. They are all my candidates. I brought them. You say, I mean, I bought the funds for all of them. When you buy funds for all of them, you can as well tell all of them to follow you. So as Rivers people, this is the time for us to liberate ourselves from that kind of captivity by, exercising the inalienable right of franchise given to us in Chapter 4 of the Constitution. Let us liberate ourselves. This is the time from this, my structure and not my structure, where people will willingly insult us and say we are moving with our leader. It's not done like that. So what they have done today is just a fulfillment of the arrangement they have already got. Anyway, some persons have gone to court to challenge it. I will wait for the court to take decision on this matter.
All right, Mr. David, Mr. David, we'll probably just have to ask you to pause there. We still have our correspondent, Biola Festus, on standby. But we'd love to hear from Professor Nna. Just the same question that I asked Mr. David. Professor Nna, what do you think about, what's your comment or what's your reaction to the fact that this particular election is quite peaceful compared to the previous ones?
Well, which previous one? The one conducted by Fubara, there were no policemen. They used local vigilante, and it was very peaceful. Nobody did anything. There was nothing that happened untoward in that election that they said is not acceptable. Now, yesterday, we watched on tele the number of security men, both soldiers, policemen, civil defense, and what have you, parading the streets of Rivers State, instilling fear on the people of Rivers State. And like my other colleague said from the other end, you see, where did the people running this election, where were they recruited from? The ad hoc staff. How were they trained? You know, at the end of the day, this thing is just an arrangee. You can see the politics in Rivers State. Mark my words, I choose them carefully. I said politics, not politics. You can see the politics in Rivers State. It is just, you know, a cover-up, you know. People just went and gathered some people. I'm surprised that the person that says assessing the election is saying there's massive turnout. Massive turnout. I saw one of the results displayed by your correspondent there, and I'm seeing 49.5. Is that massive turnout in an election? Well, at the end of the day, we're going to see the number of results. We have more than 5,000 units in Rivers State. So when the results come in, we are going to be seeing the massive turnout. When government is just using its agents, like he said, is wearing a cap of the youth. Look at the result. Look at the result. And when you have this kind of, recorded 750 people, at the end of the day, that might be massive in a local government election, considering what is happening in Nigeria. But we have 6,500 polling units, yes, as displayed by you. So let us see how many people at the end of the day will turn out for this election that will make somebody call it a massive turnout. I don't think the electorate turned out to vote for this election. Yeah? Look at this one, recording 42 people. 42, and that's massive.
Professor Simeon, I'd like to say that this is not the result sheet. This is just like a voter register showing the number of voters at a particular polling unit. However, just before you continue...
because it's saying massive turnout. It's 42 massive turnout. We're still saying the same thing. We're talking of turnout in the election. If you have 42 people in a ward, will you regard that as a massive turnout? That's what I'm saying. You can't regard that as a massive turnout. That's what I'm saying. Because a ward is supposed to have 500 people at least. So if 42 turn out of 500 people, will you say that is a massive turnout? No. From my own perspective, it's a no-no. That's not massive.
We're just trying to establish that it's not the result sheet so that our viewers do not get it mixed up. That's what we're trying to establish.
Yeah. I agree with you. I'm talking of the turnout. Yeah. Though I mentioned the result earlier, but I corrected myself that is the number of people that turned out for the election. And we are saying that if you have 500 people in a ward and 42 turned out for that election, there is no way you can say that is a massive turnout.
Let me come to you now, Mr. David, especially based off of what you said. You said earlier that as far as you're concerned about this particular election, you think that this might be a case of a selection. That's what you inferred, and you've also said that this has the handwriting of the Minister of the FCT, that's Nyesom Wike. Now, when we look at the results we expect, being that the APC and the PDP seem to be the most popular parties in Rivers State, so there's a high chance we will see the APC win some, and perhaps the PDP win some, the APC win some. Based off of what you've said now, are you also saying that perhaps the APC, be the APC or the PDP, both parties in Rivers State are loyal to Nyesom Wike?
You see, without taking much of our time, the handwriting is very clear on the word. Mene teke nebasi. When you say APC and PDP, my brother, without fear or favor, for free, I tell you, look at it. The FCT, the PDP as a party, they have, I think, just 3 candidates, if I'm not mistaken. Obiako, Alga, and I think Ikwere local government areas. The FCT minister brought in those candidates single-handedly as he used to do in his normal way. Now, you go to the other APC. APC virtually had the rest of the candidates, including the one of my local government area, as I told local government to be precise. These same persons, the names and everything was being written, returned, and imposed on the people by the FCT minister. Again, look at it this way. It is quite unfortunate that the political system of Nigeria today, wrongfully, we are progressing in error, unknown to us, and nobody is speaking about it. We are now changing the Electoral Act and even the Constitution. I have not seen anywhere where it is written in the 1999 Constitution as amended, or the Electoral Act as amended today, that a man will belong to two political parties. It has not been done anywhere. And that internal democracy or party loyalty is no longer applicable again at all. Because if party loyalty and internal democracy is applicable, I do not think the FCT minister will wear a face cap. The front is PDP, or the back of the face cap is APC, or the front of the face cap is APC, then the back is PDP or divided. You saw Ayodele Fayose, with due respect, in one of the political gatherings, in an APC gathering, but he was wearing a PDP face cap. Is it not confusing? The FCT minister would not need an analyst to tell us today his body and soul is in APC. Are you with me? So what you are seeing that you say APC had won some, not which APC? The man himself is in APC. Mr. Antonio Kocha, who is claiming, or who says he's the chairman of APC, I don't belong to any political parties for the record purpose. I'm not a member of any of the parties. I'm not a fan of Sinala Efokora. Neither am I a fan of the FCT minister. But I'm talking on the position of legality and the interest of Rivers State. So now, if the FCT minister you see today had already made up his mind to work for President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who does that? Where is he gone? He has already declared his interest. He's, how do I put it? PD, APC, APC, PDP. So all the candidates you see there is just an arrangement, formality to show to the world, just to deceive the world, but we will never be deceived that you see the election was free and fair. APC also won majority, PDP won 3, just to show. These names were names penciled down by the FCT minister imposed on the people. I'm still asking, in all, have you seen His Excellency, the elected governor of Rivers State, in this whole process? Have you seen the governor make any comment? In his capacity as the governor of Rivers State, as we have shown the FCT minister, is he not supposed to also be shown casting his vote? This is a local government election we are talking of, for God's sake. As important as it is, the grassroots. Look, if we don't depart from this mockery we are making to Nigeria in the name of politics, will tell on us. So everything you see there is an arrangement of see tomorrow. He's only sway in all the parties. As far as he is concerned, he wants to say that in 2027, PDP cannot produce any candidate by way of presidency. We are watching. As the day goes by, we will know where he belongs to that. Will he be backed on air? Then when he comes down to the ground, he will show the other animals his teeth, that I am like you people. I have leg, I have teeth. I am also an animal of the ground. That is what we are seeing playing out today. So it's unfortunate. Both the candidates of APC you see they show there are made by the FCT minister. After all, APC led by Mika Beki, they are challenging the process in court. They are not part of it because there is a contest. In it, Chief Tony Okocha, only himself is representing, he's presenting the people in NGDC. Only him is the party chairman. What kind of system are we running in this state or in this country? We have one man who wants to grab everything to himself and boast to us again to our face. I am in charge. I am in charge. It's not done anywhere. Look, God Almighty, at the appropriate time, will disappoint a lot of these persons.
Professor Simeon, let's just bring you into the conversation. And I think one question on most people's lips is, where is the suspended Governor Siminalayi Fubara? Nobody has heard anything from him up until now. We're wondering if he is involved in this whole arrangement or process, electoral process. But the question I want to ask you, Professor, is if perhaps today's results settle, do you think it will settle the Fubara-Wike, issue that we've had in the last few months? Whatever result comes out.
I don't know how far that will settle the issue, because like has been said, you know, it's only 3 local governments that PDP candidates are being presented, which means they've been told that those 3 states will be won by PDP. So, see, we've seen this thing play out. In a neighboring country here, in their last election, we know what happened. The president gave 2 of his friends money to print posters to run against him. So it's a one-party state. But it wants to make the international community believe that there are multiple parties, there are other parties. That's what is happening in Rivers State. You see, this election is an APC election, simpliciter. So they want to elect APC members into the council, and they have succeeded in doing that. I don't see how that will settle the feud between Fubara and the Wike. However, because Fubara himself has said he has taken his fate as it is, so at the end of the day, I think a judge is going to stay his period. And by 2027, if going by what we had is true, because I didn't see the agreements they signed, I learned that one of the agreements is that it's not going to run in 2027. So you can see how these things are panning out. So at the end of the day, they are preparing the ground for their candidates in 2027. Since Similai Fubara has been asked not to run in 2027. But you know politicians for who they are. He might agree in principle, but by 2027, you'll see him maybe moving to another political party and flying the flag of another political party. But that is speculative for now. But we have seen this pan out before. You remember the Anambra State issue, where it was said that a particular governor who was a minister in the last dispensation swore to an oath, and immediately he got there, he said he wasn't going to abide by the oath and things like that. He was kidnapped, locked up in a toilet, and was about to be removed until, help came. And at the end of the day, he was equally removed from office. That was how Peter Obi became the governor of Anambra State. So some of these things, we have seen them play out before in the politics of this nation. So it will not be new if it happens again. There's no love lost between the 2 of them. They might pretend now to be friendly, but I can tell you, you see, once in my place, once you take somebody to court, the relationship is sour, whether we like it or not.
Professor Nna, we're really pressed for time, but we'll just before we let both of you go, in 1 minute, please, because we understand that we can't take, or it can't be that bad in this election that we'll just look at the negatives alone. What positives do you think we can take, if at all there's any now, from this election? I'll start with you, Mr. David.
Okay.
Mr. David, let's hear from you. 1 minute, please.
Yes, as far as I'm concerned, okay, sir. As far as I'm concerned, in my humble opinion, I do not see anything positive or any positive to take out of this election or this shambolic game they have just done. People are just perpetrating illegality. They use one illegality to cover up an illegality. And like we say in law, illegality begets illegality. It is quite unfortunate.
All right, thank you, Mr. David. Let's come to you now, Professor Nna.
Sorry, sir, the governor of Rivers State, who has sold himself to these people, we as Rivers people were only concerned because of our interest of Rivers State. Now he has been asked to disband his own simplified movement. What they call it, GDI, is still in existence. Those who have insulted me before will not be appointed as commissioners and all whatnot. That is not what Rivers people want. We want peace in Rivers State, we want development in Rivers State, and we want democracy in Rivers State. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. David. How about you, Professor Nna? Any positives from this election for you?
There is no right way of doing a long thing. What is wrong, and what is right is right. You cannot have any right thing in an illegality. The election is an illegality, period, pure ED. So you can't be thinking of things that are right in an illegality. It's an illegality, period.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, for being our guests and for having this conversation with us.
Thank you.
God bless.
And enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you so much. Well, very interesting conversation. Just for the benefit of our viewers, voting has officially ended in, should I say, almost all of the local governments. That's the 23 local governments in Rivers State. Ballot counting is ongoing at the various rack centers. Also, the attention now is on the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission as they begin collation. And of course, this exercise has been lots of things to talk about, from what is going to happen going down to the year 2027. Yeah. We're still in the year 2025, and we're talking about the year 2027. It's really interesting as to how politics, is being dynamic every day. From what our guest said, it's not politics, it's politricks.
It's quite interesting to see right now, because, and I'm really worried about the fact that we're having low turnout of voters, because if we have things like this, if this is what is happening in River State right now, only God really knows what's going to happen in 2027. And if their predictions become correct in terms of saying that, look, Wike is the one running things in River State, if that is actually true, then this might just be a replica, or this might just be an example or a sample size of what we'll see in 2027. Meaning that he would most likely be the one to determine who the next governor of River State is. And that's really sad, but that's if it happens.
But 2027 is still, a long time. For some persons, it's a long time, because anything can happen in the next 24 hours. Because River State is a peculiar state. Yes, you can't not always predict what will happen in the next 24 hours, considering the political gladiators that are in the state, the federal might, which is now at play in the state. We're still wondering where the suspended governor is. We don't know what he's planning. We don't know anything about his whereabouts. We don't know if he has a kind of strategy he wants to, bring up at the end of the day. We're waiting to see what INEC would reel out as the results for this election, because from our correspondents, they said there was low voter turnout. Yeah. From some of the election observers and, of course, the political analysts, they've said there's been low voter turnout. They've also questioned the legality of this election. But for some other gladiators, they feel this election was peaceful, was credible. For them, they feel the people have spoken.
Well, people have spoken. Well, I'm not so sure about that when it comes to the, the turnout right now, because you can't really say the people have spoken if probably a few people came out to vote. So, but like we said earlier, this is quite important. River State has always been an important state when it comes to looking at the political map of Nigeria. A lot of times, even in 2015, was quite a tussle, even as at that time when the APC just came into power, but they couldn't have their way in River State. So right now, it looks as though the government in power, the party in power right now, are in sync with APC finally. And what's interesting, and that's why I asked that question, so are we saying that both the APC and the PDP are both loyal to one person in the
and
state?
have a piece of cake?
If that's the case, that's some high level of power in one state. Both major parties loyal to one person. That's interesting.
Well, we'll get to see if what it will play out in the coming days. Of course, going from the results that will be announced by the Independent National Electoral Commission. That's for the state.
That's RCEC.
Yeah, we'll go on a break now, and we'll be back shortly. To stay with us.
Well, in case you missed it, we're going to be playing you what the Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, said after he casted his vote earlier. Take a look.
Thank God Almighty that today, 30th of August, which is scheduled to hold the local government elections in Rivers State. And again, I want to thank RISEC for carrying out a very, very successful conduct of the government election. Let me make it clear that this is a local government election. And I expect, particularly the media, to have done their homework very well in doing where there are residential areas, in knowing where there are commercial areas. When you go to commercial areas, you don't expect much a large turnout of people. But when you go to high residential areas, you of course you do expect people to turn up. Particularly as I'm here now, this is my community. I can see the turnout of people in this particular unit. So it is in other units. But if you go to where you have commercial area, more to speak, you don't expect much people. Go to the rural areas because it's local government area. More participation is taken in the rural area because of councillorship position. And so most people who are also not in this or River State, they feel that look, there's no need since we are not having a truth represented by having their own people contesting the election. So I'm very happy with the turnouts of people. I've got a lot of reports from the rural areas that people came out very well to participate in this election. So I'm very happy. There was no election and more. The Supreme Court said there was no election. They notified the election. I said there was no election. There was no election. Today we are holding election, and that's why you see people have come out to also cast their votes. If you do something that's not done to law, of course it will be set aside, and it was set aside. And now that the process is very clear and goes according to the law, nobody's worried. What people are doing is just to come out and get their vote for whoever they want them to represent them at the local government level. And that is why we have to thank Mr. President for taking the bold step to make sure that this election is conducted. First of all, if election is not conducted, you know that Supreme Court has said there's nothing like caretaker committees in local government, and if there are no elected people, it means that funds will not come from the federation account to local government councils. And that means that if the emergency rule is lifted and there's no local government election, we'll still have the same problem. And now that local government election is taking place, it means that they've elected people and then they will get funds directly from the federation account. So everybody must rally out to support the conduct of this particular election in order to stabilize the grassroots level. By the time the state of emergency is lifted on the 18th of September, it means that the governor and the state assembly will come back. So without local government, it will not have been complete. So we are very glad that today we are conducting this election, and by the end of the day, elected people will emerge and they will be sworn in, and they will not have elected representatives at the grassroots level.
You're still watching News Central's special coverage of the Rivers State local government election, and it's down to the final moments of this election. Collation is happening at the various RAC centers, and we have our correspondents all around the state monitoring developments there. And of course, I still have Toluhi with me in the studio. Right, and I'm just going to bring in our correspondents now just to tell us what they've seen during the course of today. I understand we have Austin Azu is in Aoda West local government. Austin, talk to us. What has the day been like for you?
All right, good evening. Like you rightly stated, we are at the Secretariat of Aoda West local government area. And behind me, you can see some of the ad hoc staff of RISEC. They have started returning back to the local government coalition center, where the results will be all put together and thereafter be forwarded to the head office in Port Harcourt. We have some of the respondents here to talk to us. We have Maurice, and as well we have Maurice is one of the agents, and we have Blessed. Mr. Said, please come this way, please. Okay, behind me. Okay, please bring us to speed. What's the turnout like?
Yeah, I want to really thank God for fair weather, because as you can see, the weather is so bright, and the brightness of the weather have made people to come in mass to come and vote for this election. So we thank God for that, for the fair weather first.
Okay, what can you tell us about the arrival of voting materials? Earlier on, we reported that before the voting materials left this place, it was around to 1. Did it actually affect the voting process?
No, it did not affect any voting process. Everything went right. Like my unit that I was in charge as a presiding officer, everything went well, you understand? And as a presiding officer, I want to give you the result here direct. The APC candidate of the...
Don't bother. Okay. I think the right officials will do that. Okay, we have Blessed Meshisadek. You are of the Labour Party agent for the local government area. Okay, bring us to speed. What did you observe so far from the election?
Okay, I can observe that the election was free and fair, but while we were voting, I just got some calls that they were leading the Labour Party, and election is not do or die affair, so we have decided to accept any result because we know that the election is free and fair. So I am the LJ coalition agent, also the vice chairmanship candidate of the Labour Party Ahoda West. So my name is Apostle Blessed Melchizedek.
Okay, Blessed, before I let you go, we saw that there are people who actually went behind a closed door to collect money. Was it like you didn't induce the voters with cash? That was why you easily considered to defeat?
Absolutely no, absolutely no. That is why I'm optimistically sure that none of our agents from the LP collected any money from any political party, and no political party ever approached LP for negotiation. So we have decided, that is why we came up to this extent. We decided to vote to continue free and fairly, and it was so. So there was no manipulation, according to what I observe as the LGA coalition agent and also as the LP vice chairmanship candidate. There is nothing like partiality.
Okay, thank you, Blessed. Okay, from our own observations, we observed that there was a low turnout of voters, and of course, we equally witnessed, heavy presence of security personnel around the polling units, and there was no violence as well. But late arrival of materials actually marked the process. However, like I said earlier on, low voters equally contributed to what we observed. And most of the agents we saw on the field, most of them belongs to one political party. And obviously, the agents were very few. Apart from the skeletally, we saw LP, SDP, just one polling unit that we saw LZP. The others were just APC and PDP, in quote. But we didn't actually see observers in this election. Where we went around, we didn't see any of the observers, but rather most of the agents, political party agents, tend to be playing the role of observers as well. But from the reliable information we gathered from the places we went to, everywhere was calm, peaceful, there was no violence, and the election went on smoothly. That's all we have for now.
Thank you so much, Austin, for giving us that update. But please bear in mind that we'll still come to you, of course, to have some conversations as regards how the election went at your end. But right now, we're being joined by Biola Festus. Biola Festus, if you can hear me, can you tell us exactly what's happening at your end?
We're still at the collation center here inside local government area. Well, the collation officers are still in there doing their thing. The atmosphere is looking very calm around here. The only place where we had a little bit of fracas was in the Kobo local government area. But here inside, the atmosphere is looking calm. People are there collating while they sip a bottle of drink and water. Well, I have a board party agents here for the PDP. I also have research agents here, so they will be speaking to us. Could you come forth, please, Mr. Eric? Okay, so you are APC party agent. How did the process go from your own point of view as a party agent?
Well, actually, I, as agent of APC, precisely was my area of assignment was Ward 3. Wicked work precisely. And there we had a very good atmosphere. The atmosphere was quite calm. The voters turned out en masse. And it was a participatory thing. It was like something everybody were looking forward to. And I think so far, from the very start of the election process till the time we wrap up, there was no record of fracas. Everywhere was calm. People went about exercising their franchise. A very good disposition. I think so far it was a very good one.
Thank you so much. So that's the disposition of the APC agents right here on the ground. So we also have representative of RISEC here, which is the River State Independent Electoral Commission. He is a presiding officer. I would like you, thank you for joining us. I would like you to tell us, how were you able to manage the political parties that participated in this election?
My name is Firstman.
research presiding officer. I was handling the unit 3, Bank, Ward 6. And the voting was okay. There was no problem. There wasn't problem at all. They were all doing well.
All right, let me ask you this. When we went to Popo for our local government area, we saw some agents of some political parties accusing your commission of manipulating the results. What is the case inside? How did you manage different parties being the umpire?
No. All the agents of different parties, they were there. They voted for their voted for the political parties. Members from different political parties came in to vote, so there was no problem there at all.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, do you have a dissenting view? What happened in your own ward? Could you let us know?
Actually, we were in the same ward of assignment. My own was in the 2. My name is Martin Senior Badaya. I was presiding officer in the 2, Ward 6. The election went smoothly, it was successful. We never had any issue of fracas. There was no breakdown of law and order. The voters came out, there was nothing like voters apathy. Everything went successful. We never had any security threat. So the election went successful and smooth.
All right, thank you. The both of you just told me that you did not experience voter apathy, but I have been to some of these polling units, but I could barely see people. What polling units were you and where were the electorates actually? That's my own point.
I was in Unit 2 in Ward 6. And the groups are there, they have footages. People came out at the actual time for accreditation. And we did our accreditation of this simultaneously. So I can attest to that.
Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, I'll ask you the last question. Collation is not going today. When are we expecting it done? Is there any issues right in there? Or is everything going smoothly?
No, everything is going smoothly. And very soon, and collect everything and completely resolve it.
Thank you so much. All right, so there you have it from the electoral umpire. This staff who have given us updates about the conduct and of course the collation that is currently going on this four rights behind me.
Appeal investors, thank you so much for what you've done since the start of today as regards the elections. But tell us, how has your experience been? How would you sum up your experience as regards what you saw today covering the local government elections in Rivers State?
Since I started covering the election in the morning, I've only had one observer to speak with, which we spoke to right here earlier. I couldn't cite observers as in other LGAs. I didn't see any in Bonkoro. I didn't see in Kana. Maybe they were at other polling units while I was at another. I don't know, but I didn't see them. Now, when we got to Kobo, the people there wanted to stop us from accessing the community, of course, to monitor the election. Because upon our arrival at the entrance, some persons came to us and they were like, oh, first man, election is over. Results have been taken to collation centers. But we insisted that we wanted to go see for ourselves at the polling unit. And when we got there, we met a little bit of argument between agents and, of course, research staff. So that's the experience so far. We are still here on the ground monitoring to see how the result announcement goes.
We're still talking about the FACA you experienced or you saw, you witnessed earlier on. I want you to speak to the fact that what was the responsibility of security operatives? Were they around at the time while this was ongoing, or what was the security presence like in the areas you covered? Did it seem like they were intimidating? Did it seem intimidating for the voters, particularly when you spoke with them?
The security operatives were not appearing intimidating. They were just calm. Some of them sat alongside electorate. They were just around. There was no intimidation at all from them, from the polling units I monitored. Some polling units didn't even have security present. They were just there doing their things smoothly.
Can you confirm if elections has ended in all of the polling units in River State?
Confirm that elections have ended in polling units in Sai local government area, in Hana local government area. Hana local government area has already concluded collation of results from 1 hour ago. I can also confirm that in Ukobo, election had ended as at the time I got there. As at the time I left there, I beg your pardon. So these 3 LGAs I can confirm.
All right, thank you so much, Biola Festus, for the updates. But of course, please bear in mind that we'll still be having conversation with you. Sarah, it's quite interesting that we seem to have something in common when it comes to the observers and the voters. Both of them have low turnout, and it's quite interesting at the same time to, of course, to see something like
concerning,
this.
You would say,
yes,
for
because
a lot of people.
for us to, when it comes to elections, right, aside what you can see, what we report, right, what we report here on the news, we can also get some level or have an idea of what really happened at elections from observers, point of view. But when you don't have so many of them on ground, then you begin to wonder, how can we actually say that this election was actually
assess the election
credible?
From outside the gladiators. So when we are talking about observers, we're expecting to see civil society organizations, we're expecting to see non-governmental organizations, particularly those focused on election monitoring. It's concerning, interesting, peculiar that in this particular election, we kind of like see 1 or 2 of them. Earlier, when our correspondent had spoken with one, it was someone from the NYCN, and that was a bit, I don't know, from that I feel like wasn't supposed to be. I understand we have a correspondent as well, Igbalani, on standby. Can you talk to us about what the day has been like for you? I know you tried bringing on some persons earlier to talk to you about the assessment of this election, but first let me hear what your experience has been like on the field.
Although the voice is a little bit shaky, I can't hear clearly, but I heard you talk about my experience. I'll share that quickly. Well, unlike most elections we would have where it's quite, you expect a lot, you see a lot, there's a lot happening everywhere, there's something happening here that is not happening on the other side. This one is quite relaxed. It didn't seem so much like there was an election, basically, because most of the election polling units you got to, there were either little or no activity there, sincerely. Then as the election started with delayed materials moving into coming there and not seeing so much people, then being dominated by 2 major parties, then after some while we have to move to the polling unit of the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike. It's really, for me, it didn't seem like I didn't have the feeling of covering an election. That's just my honest take. Not because of, if it's not tedious, it was tedious. Security operatives were there. VCA did their best. The equipment was there, but maybe the voter turnout for me was what made it look as if an election was conducted. Don't get me wrong, but it didn't make it look like we really had something that happened today in the state. Because if something like an election, local government election was happening in the state, you should hear people talk about it. You should see people come out to speak about it. But most of the polling units we got to was basically deserted. Very, very few had 1 or 2 persons there. Aside that, I think it's important to say kudos to security operatives, because we didn't hear of any form of suppression from my own end. Anyways, I didn't hear of any form of suppression or intimidation from security operatives. And of course, I didn't think I saw any sort of violence across the places I covered. So for me, that is a good point, and kudos to that. But aside that, if I'm talking about VCA performance, for me, my own opinion now, I wouldn't give so much of a pass mark. There was a delay. At the end of the day, there were no issues in their materials when they got there. When they finally got there, the beavers worked properly. The voter registration, people did it. Each free, basically. So that would be my own take, my personal take.
Yeah, so one thing that's common about this particular election, coming from you, Ni, also Austin, attested to the fact that there was a delay in the movement of materials of course, to polling units. Was there any reason given? Is it a case of, a logistics problem? Was there any reason given per se as to why there was a delay in the movement of materials?
Well, I think without deceiving ourselves, it was expected, because as at 5:30 yesterday, a lot of the ad hoc staff, presiding officers that are supposed to move to various areas across the 23 local governments were still at the RESEC office trying to get their letter of appointment. Now, when I hear the word letter of appointment, it looks to me as if it sounds somehow to me, but of course, that's the modus operandi. But they didn't get that letter, which signifies they can walk. And as someone said this morning when I was speaking with him, this letter of appointments lets you know that you are not just going on a missionary walk. You're working for somebody, you're working for the state, and you will get paid. That is what that letter is for. And without that letter, you really cannot do anything, which eventually, even at one of the rack centers we were at about 5:30 as this evening, it's caused a little bit of rancor where some ad hoc staffs were complaining that their names, they got appointment letter, they did the job, but it's looking like other people's names are being fixed and might be paid for the job they didn't do. Meanwhile, they did it. They refused to speak on camera. We could not get them to say those things on camera, but they spoke to us off air, and that's just the situation.
All right, thank you so much, Ni, and also thank you to all our correspondents across Rivers State covering the local government elections. Now, on that note, we've come to the end of this particular update. Of course, but remember, of course, we would let you in on what's happening as details unfold, and River State will let you in, and everybody's talking and looking forward to the results to know which party actually won. Trust us over here at News Central to give you nothing but, the outright news and outright results as to what's happening in River State.
You are Chiwete, and I am
Sarah.
To have a wonderful evening. The news starts in a moment. Stay with us.